Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Everyone. Domain Master. Level 1 creates an absolute domain. Chapter 61. Wah, what? Domain Master. He Dao's eyes widened, like bells, looking at Zhang Yanqing in disbelief. He imagined Chu Jia's various professions in his mind, but he never expected that he would be the most useless hidden profession field master. Zhang Yanqing took a deep breath, looked at the vast sword mountain on the big screen, and looked at the young figure floating like an immortal on the top of the mountain, and his heart was surging. That's right, I think you should understand it now, Lao He. What is that towering and arrogant sword mountain? He Dao was completely shocked at this moment. You mean, realm? That Zhanshan is Chu Jia's domain. The first field master in history to create a field. Shock and ecstasy hit He Dao's heart like a tsunami, and he felt like his breathing had stopped. Field master is the most useless but also the most mysterious profession among the hidden professions. No matter Longguo or major foreign schools, they have all tried to cultivate a true field master. However, the power of the field is broad and profound. The resources and time invested are too huge, but the output is extremely unobvious, just like wasting nothing. This resulted in countless experiments ultimately ending in failure. The longest experiment lasted 20 years, and the investment of resources was already an astronomical figure. However, that field master had only completed half of the field, and his combat power could only be said to be unsatisfactory. Therefore, there is almost an international consensus. The real strength of the field master may not be weak, but with the same time and resources, it is completely possible to train another hidden profession with the same combat power. Since the failure of the battle to turn over the domain masters have completely declined, and no one can imagine the future of the domain masters anymore. He Dao never expected it. Today, in the small Dongsheng city, he actually saw a genuine field master. With just one thought, you can summon a mountain of 10,000 feet of sword. With a wave of his hand, thousands of flying swords fell like a rainstorm. Killing the LV-70 Gigantopithecus is a piece of cake. Such terrifying strength is simply shocking. He Dao's heart was surging, and his initial pride was gone. Wrong. All of us are wrong. The power of a field master cannot be compared to other hidden professions. Late bloomers have their own reasons for being late bloomers. There is God's will in the dark. He looked at Zhang Yanqing and said with sincere gratitude, "Old Zhang, thank you for telling me in advance. I was thinking too highly of myself before. It would be a great regret in my life if Kunlun Academy missed out on such a genius." Seeing that He Dao, who had always been arrogant, showed such a humble posture in front of him, Zhang Yanqing felt extremely happy and laughed. What's the point of just saying, "You're treating me tonight"? He Dao also laughed loudly when he heard this. No problem, we won't go home until we get drunk today. However, the premise is that I recruit Chu Jia to Kunlun Academy first, otherwise I will not feel at ease. While the two were laughing and chatting, the surrounding dignitaries and senior officials were all stunned. They never expected that the sword immortal who had caused a sensation in Dongsheng City in the past half-month was just a new job transferee. And the sword mountain and heavenly sword that shook the world turned out to be his domain. No wonder Chu Jia can reach LV-40 even if he stays at home all day. Once this terrifying field unfolds, the speed at which monsters are harvested will probably be 100 times 1,000 times faster than other job transfers. Made. At first I felt that Chu Jia was not worthy, and then I felt that the two families were worthy of each other. But now why do I feel that Yaya is superior to Chu Jia? Who says it's not the case? My father-in-law hasn't even started working yet. Is he about to be laid off? Tang Long and Qin Yanhu were shocked, but at the same time, they felt uneasy inside. They used to ignore Chu Jia, but now they are really afraid that they can't reach him. But to say that the person with the most complicated mood is Liang Shanhai. The surrounding dignitaries all looked at Liang Shanhai jokingly, their eyes full of pity and gloating. They now see clearly that Liang Shanhai was slandering Chu Jia before. For those who dare to slander such a peerless evildoer who has never been seen in a century, the Liang group is really lighting up the toilet, looking for death. Liang Shanhai's face was pale, his eyes were dull, and he was looking at the big screen blankly. Sword Immortal. Chu Jia is actually the Sword Immortal. If the Sword Immortal was a rank 2 powerhouse or even a rank 3 powerhouse, Liang Shanhai would not be afraid at all. Even if the Liang group cannot solve the problem, he can still spend a lot of money to buy the perpetrators. But the Sword Immortal turned out to be just a new job transfer, and Liang Shanhai was completely panicked. For such a monster genius, all his plans will not work. The rank 4 master from Kunlun Academy next to him would never allow Chu Jia to lose a single hair. Liang Jinming, you are really my good son. You left a huge legacy to dad. You are going to send me away too. Liang Shanhai gritted his teeth and cursed secretly, scolding all 18 generations of his unworthy ancestors. At this moment, he completely understood why Zhangxian wanted to go against the Liang group. The source of everything lies in Liang Jinming and the copy of Iron Mine. If Liang Jinming had not had the evil intention to harm Chu Jia in the first place, nothing like this would have happened now. Liang Shanhai was heartbroken and regretful to the extreme. He should have shot the fool against the wall in the first place and never allowed this fool to be born. Outside the dungeon, there was an unprecedented climax due to the power of the domain. But in the dungeon, Chu Jia was still concentrating on fighting the monsters in the dungeon. I have to say that the additional questions after level 90 are really exciting. Following the level 70 giant ape on the 91st floor, a level 70 boss monster appears directly on the 92nd floor. The strength gap between boss level monsters and mobs has doubled. However, facing such a fierce monster, Chu Jia not only did not panic, but also laughed heartily. Okay, I just want to test my limits with you. 10,000 swords Chaozong. Kill without mercy. Countless swords from the realm shuttled through the tower, and the sword energy intertwined in the sky, forming an airtight sword energy network, covering all the monsters. The terrifying tearing power exploded on the monster, roaring like thunder. One sword energy may not be able to damage a level 70 boss, but 100, 1,000, 10,000. No matter how high your defense is and how thick your blood volume is, you will eventually die unwillingly under thousands of arrows piercing your heart. In this way, although Chu Jia's climbing speed has slowed down, he is still moving forward steadily. At this moment, some students finally couldn't hold on any longer and were sent out copies of the college entrance examination. Mad, it's too difficult. This year's exam questions are too difficult. Isn't that right? How many floors have you climbed, brother? Hey, it's only level 35. My score is only good for the second book. Holy crap, I just climbed to the 30th floor and collapsed. What about you on the 35th floor, Versailles? Hey, it's just my extraordinary performance. Isn't it bad that everyone is cheering for me like this? What good thing are you thinking of? You should be cheering for brother Zhao Yixiang. Are all the big guys who are not looking at the rostrum full of shock? That's right. I don't know how many floors Mr. Zhao Yixiang has climbed to. I have to take a good look at it while I'm out early. As he said this, all the students looked curiously at the big screen behind them. However, when they saw this, they were completely dumbfounded. Am I blind? The person in first place is Chu Jia. Holy shit. Floor 97. Are you crazy? Don't talk about the 97th floor. What the hell is that mountain at his feet? Why does it look so familiar to me? Everyone is shouting Sword Immortal. Could it be that Chu Jia is the Sword Immortal? Hang Sao, how is this possible? Isn't he a waste field master? I can't even understand it now. You are really stupid. The 97th floor is considered useless, so what is your 30th floor? I just said that it is impossible for Goddess Zhang Qianan to find a loser. It turns out that Chu Jia is the real god. No more. I can't bear it anymore. I want to shout too. Sword Immortal, Sword Immortal, Sword Immortal. The scene in front of them was so shocking that the candidates were completely stunned. But looking at Chu Jia standing proudly on the top of the mountain, with thousands of flying swords following his orders, they couldn't help but feel their hearts surging and their blood flowing. Which young man in the Dragon Kingdom doesn't have the dream of wielding a sword to the end of the world? 98th floor, 99th floor, 100th floor. After level 90, the difficulty of monsters on each level will rise by a huge level. Even a genius in the eyes of everyone will probably fail before the 95th floor. And Chu Jia unexpectedly reached the 100th floor, which he had never seen before. Everyone present was shocked, staring at the big screen without blinking, looking forward to Chujia's final performance. 100 floors. I have never heard of any candidate being able to pass the 100th floor. Even the candidates who have reached the 100th floor are very few in the history of Dragon Kingdom. Can Chujia set a record for the Dragon Kingdom today? Everyone is waiting to see. Different from the previous 99 floors, the four walls of the 100th floor are actually splendid. The noble environment also silently tells the extraordinary story of this level. And in the center of the 100th floor, a three-headed demon dog dozens of meters tall stood in the center. Three ferocious heads grew on the same body, and their dark red fur exuded a sinister aura. When the scarlet eyes opened and closed, a hellish aura spurted out, making people dare not look directly. Oh my god, the monster guarding the 100th floor is actually the demonic boss three-headed hell dog. The level has even reached LV 100. Is this really a test question for new job changers? I really don't know who else but a pervert like me can fight against such a monster. Chujia raised his sword in the air and stared at the three-headed hell dog below. The fighting spirit in his heart was finally aroused. On the rostrum, after seeing clearly the 100-level guarding monsters, all the dignitaries and senior officials took a deep breath. Oh my god, forget it if it's level 100, I can tolerate the boss level. What the hell is this demon monster? Devils and monsters all have the immortality attribute, and can quickly heal themselves after being injured. The three-headed hell dog is the best among them. How can we fight this? Don't be discouraged. It's said to be immortal, but as long as the damage is high enough, it can still be killed in one hit. One hit will kill the LV 100 demon boss. Do you want to eat this shit? In the previous levels, it was obvious that Chujia's damage was weak. The level gap is too big. The dignitaries were chattering and discussing, feeling extremely nervous. They were almost more nervous than playing in person. Even guard Zhang Yanqing is no exception. He clenched his fists and looked at Chujia expectantly. He knew that Chujia still had one more skill called falling from the sky that he hadn't used yet. But he was not sure whether that blow could kill the three-headed hell dog. If the attack fails, the three-headed hell dog will heal itself quickly, and Chujia will have no chance at all. No matter what, Chujia has broken Dongsheng City's record this time. In fact, in the history of Dragon Kingdom, he is also a famous figure. Lao He, let's go. Let's go down and prepare to meet this genius. Zhang Yanqing laughed loudly, got up and walked off the platform, came to the door of the dungeon, and waited quietly. The guard personally came down to greet a new candidate. This was an unprecedented scene. This shows how much Zhang Yanqing attaches great importance to Chujia. He Dao was so happy that he followed closely. Although he didn't have high expectations for Chujia to clear the 100th floor. But being able to clear the 99th floor, Chujia is enough to stand out among the freshmen in this class. This Chujia, their Kunlun Academy is bound to win. Seeing that the guards and the 4th level bosses were all gone, how could Tang Long, Qin Yanhu, and Liang Shanhai fall behind? Tang Long and Qin Yanhu's daughter has a very ambiguous relationship with Chujia. They must make more use of this good opportunity. Liang Shanhai completely gave up his plan to cause trouble for Chujia and decided to lower his profile completely and beg Chujia for forgiveness. Liang Shanhai didn't even dare to have the slightest idea of confrontation against this kind of rising star who had cleared the 99th floor. As for his son Liang Jinming, everyone is dead, so why worry about it so much? Do you suspect it was the sword fairy who did it? Is there any evidence? If not, then it's not. If his son is gone, he can regenerate, but if his career is gone, Liang Shanhai is completely finished. Seeing the guards and the three giants of Dongsheng City all come to an end in person, the dignitaries on the rostrum were even more anxious. They all rushed to the square. Even if you don't have the chance to meet Chujia, it would still be good to show your face in front of Chujia. The candidates who were watching the live broadcast in the square were dumbfounded when they saw the guards and a group of dignitaries coming in force. Everyone wisely stepped aside to make way for the guard. This triggered a new wave of craze in the entire square. At this moment, Chujia on the big screen finally moved. It seems that he knows that attacking with a flying sword cannot cause fatal damage to the three-headed hell dog. Ever since, Chujia directly used his biggest trump card. 10,000 swords unite. A low groan fell, and the entire sword mountain erupted into thousands of rays of light. Countless flying swords flashed with brilliant brilliance, roaring and flying high into the sky. Under the pull of a vast sword intention, we are constantly weaving and reorganizing. The sword shadows are numerous and complement each other. The entire tower was flickering, as if even the space was being distorted. An unprecedented dazzling heavenly sword emerged from the sky. Its sword is so huge that even the huge three-headed hell dog is as small as dust. Its power was so vast that even the aura of hell was constantly trembling, and it retracted into the body of the three-headed hell dog in fear. The heavenly sword comes out. Time stands still. Everything is eclipsed by it. Sky sword. Crazy. I'm going crazy. What a spectacular heavenly sword. I'm so shocked. This is the heavenly sword that once destroyed a copy. Ha ha how Tianjian can chop off the heads of hell dogs, there's nothing wrong with that. As soon as the heavenly sword came out, the entire audience went completely crazy. Even He Dao couldn't help but swallowed hard. This incomparably gorgeous heavenly sword, even through the screen, he could deeply feel the terrifying sword intent emanating from it. He was able to unleash such terrifying skills just half a month after changing his job. I simply can't imagine what a heaven-defying existence Chu Jia will become when he grows up in the future. At this moment, everyone holds their breath, waiting for the moment when the heavenly sword falls to the ground. Just then, the dungeon door flashed with light, and Zhao Yixiang's embarrassed figure staggered out of the dungeon door. Although his clothes were in tatters, he had an unruly smile on his face. Ha ha, 50th floor. I went straight to the 50th floor. With this achievement, just ask who else is there. As soon as he appeared, Zhao Yixiang looked up to the sky and laughed, extremely proud. Immediately afterwards, his voice stopped suddenly, and he saw the guard and a group of dignitaries standing in front of him. The pupils suddenly dilated. Zhao Yixiang was surprised and happy. I didn't expect that the Lord Guard would take me so seriously. He actually came to the square to greet him in person. Also, the 50th floor has broken the college entrance examination record in Dongsheng City. You can't take it too seriously. After tidying up his instruments, Zhao Yixiang walked forward proudly, neither humble nor overbearing. Master Guard, you lived up to your expectations. I successfully broke through to the 50th floor. Guard Zhang Yanqing glanced at Zhao Yixiang and nodded perfunctorily. Well, not bad, keep up the good work. If compared to previous years, the 50th floor results are indeed worthy of his serious consideration. However, today, Zhang Qianan and the three girls alone have broken through to the 78th floor. Chu Jia even reached the astonishing 100th floor. Compared with this, Zhao Yixiang's results are completely unsatisfactory. Is this the end? Shouldn't we praise him lavishly and then give him a real reward? Zhao Yixiang was confused, thinking that his results were so amazing that the guards had not yet reacted. Ever since, he greeted Tang Long again. Uncle Tang, what do you think of my results? Is it enough to win back Miss Tang Ya's heart? When Tang Long heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched and he waved his hands in disgust. Ahem, don't call me Uncle Tang. Tang Long felt so regretful that he made such a stupid move in the first place. If this affects the impression of himself and Yaya in Chu Jia's mind, he won't have anywhere to cry. When Zhao Yixiang heard this, he didn't understand Tang Long's true intention at all. Instead, his eyes lit up and he said in surprise. Don't call him Uncle Tang, call him you, father-in-law. Father-in-law, please accept me. Happiness came so suddenly, Zhao Yixiang's face was so happy. Just when he was about to show his loyalty to Tang Ya, Tang Long flew up and kicked Zhao Yixiang away. Father-in-law, you can call me father-in-law. Zhao Yixiang, I advise you to stay away from my Yaya from now on. Nothing else, I'm just afraid that Chu Jia will misunderstand. Zhao Yixiang drew a parabola in the air, and then landed heavily. He was completely confused. No, that's not what you said before. Didn't you tell me to defeat Chu Jia and win back Tang Ya's heart? You old thing doesn't keep your word. Just as Zhao Yixiang was about to ask Tang Long for a theory, his eyes accidentally glanced at the big screen. His body suddenly stiffened, as if 5 thunders struck him, and his face was full of shock. That's Chu Jia. That's 100 floors. That's the heavenly sword. No, how is this possible? On the screen, Chujia was seen floating above the heavenly sword, and his big hand suddenly pressed down. The heavenly sword suddenly fell with his movements. Infinite sword intent swirls around the sword body, forming brilliant brilliance, just like the most sacred sword of judgment in the world, descending into the mortal world. The void was torn apart and space was suppressed. The heavenly sword carries unparalleled majesty and endless power, and its blade points directly at the three-headed dog of hell. There was uncontrollable fear in the violent eyes of the three-headed hell dog. The body as huge as a hill was lying on the ground, whimpering and trembling like an ordinary puppy. Boom! The heavenly sword fell to the ground, and a powerful force erupted from the sword's edge, forming ripples of air visible to the naked eye, constantly impacting the golden walls. Even though they were separated by screens, everyone in the square seemed to be able to hear the deafening impact. The violent sword energy tore endlessly at the demonic body of the three-headed hell dog. Even though it has terrifying self-healing ability, the power of the heavenly sword is endless. The body of the three-headed hell dog constantly switches between annihilation and rebirth. Boom! Accompanied by a shocking explosion, the power of the sky sword is completely released. A terrifying shock wave swept through the entire 100 floors. Even the space began to twist and shake. The dazzling brilliance instantly dyed the big screen white, making everything unclear. It wasn't until a few seconds later that the big screen finally returned to normal. Everything disappeared without a trace, the heavenly sword disappeared, and the three-headed dog of hell disappeared too. Between heaven and earth, only the figure of Chujia flying with his sword is left. Standing tall in the sky, like a banished immortal. At this moment, all the suspense finally has the answer. Chujia, level 100, cleared. Oh my god, 100 floors. 100 floors. Haha, now let me see who dares to say that there is no one in Dongsheng City. Unprecedented clearance of 100 levels. I won't say anything else, awesome. Haha, how magnificent is our Dalong Kingdom. Now Dongsheng City can be recorded in the annals of history. The crowd surged and it was a complete sensation. The huge impact brought by clearing the 100th level completely shocked everyone in Dongsheng City. Zhao Yixiang stared blankly at Chujia on the screen, feeling a huge shock in his heart. Haha, I thought I was some kind of genius after clearing the 50th floor. It turns out that compared to Chujia, I'm nothing. In the past 2 challenges, it turned out that Chujia was not pushing the envelope. He really looked down on me. Yes, the 50th floor and the 100th floor, this is not a matter of doubling, the gap between them is like cloud mud. If I were Chujia, I would naturally not pay attention to the provocation of the ants. Hey, I lost. Completely defeated. Guard Zhang Yanqing looked at Chujia tremblingly, as if he wanted to imprint that domineering young man in bone armor completely in his mind. 100 levels. He really did it. The new job changer actually cleared the 100th level. Chujia is truly the most powerful genius. Although I have watched Chujia's video in advance, I am mentally prepared. But at this moment, Zhang Yanqing still couldn't control the excitement in his heart. His heart was like an ocean, and he couldn't calm down for a long time. He Dao, who looked to the side and turned around, did the same. Even though he restrained himself forcibly, his trembling shoulders still clearly showed how shocked he was inside. Really passed the level. Unprecedented 100 levels. Tianzhao. Well-deserved Tianzhao. Such monsters may be able to solve the crisis of alien invasion that has existed for thousands of years in the future. And these great men will come from my Kunlun Academy. As the introducer, I will also leave my name in history. Ha ha, ha 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 ha. He Dao couldn't help laughing, and his gratitude to Zhang Yanqing was like a torrential river, endless. Within the copy, Chujia flew into the air with his sword, looked at the empty 100 floors, and let out a long sigh of relief. It's really tricky. Only by releasing all the power of 10,000 swords Gai can we kill this LV-100 three-headed hell dog. It seems that this is the upper limit of my strength, killing level 100 boss across level 60. Hehe, these grades should be okay. Kunlun Academy should be fine, and my sister's special talent should be no worse. I think I will be very surprised when I hear this news, haha. At this moment, a golden dungeon door appeared in the center of the 100th floor. This should be the portal to leave the college entrance examination copy. Chujia did not hesitate, flew with his sword, and entered it. Light and shadow flickered, and the picture in front of him began to distort and change rapidly. Chu Jia was not nervous. This was a normal teleportation phenomenon. However, at this moment, scenes of horrific scenes suddenly appeared in his mind. He saw countless monsters wreaking havoc on the land, slaughtering them, and turning the world into a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. They were ferocious and twisted monsters, each with a different shape. There is an elemental monster whose body is burning with fire, but its head is that of a demon. There is a giant eagle monster flying in the sky, but there are two ghost fires burning in its eyes. There is also an octopus monster that keeps destroying buildings with its tentacles, but each of its tentacles is a rattan. Hold the grass. What the hell is this? Chu Jia held his forehead, trying to clarify what the picture in his mind was. However, the next moment, the picture suddenly disappeared, and he had appeared on the college entrance examination square. In front of him were the smiling guards and dignitaries of Dongsheng City. Deafening cheers erupted from the surrounding auditorium. Welcome, welcome our genius from Dongsheng City to successfully complete the exam. Cleave the unprecedented 100 floors. I, the guard, have a bright face. Our Dongsheng City has a bright face. Seeing Chu Jia, Zhang Yanqing couldn't hide the smile on his face, clapped his hands and walked forward. During his term of office, the emergence of a monster genius like Chu Jia was also a highlight in his life. Little friend Chu Jia is a talented person, and his strength is extraordinary. He is so awesome. Little friend Chu Jia is really a dragon among men. He actually broke the 1,000-year curse of the domain master. Little friend Chu Jia will definitely become a giant of the Dragon Kingdom in the future. What a joy and congratulation. What a joy and congratulation. Not to be outdone, a group of dignitaries applauded and complimented each other, vying to show their faces in front of Chu Jia. Chu Jia ignored these people and looked back at the big screen. The screen on the 100th floor has disappeared. Currently at the top are Zhang Qianan and the three girls. They are struggling to conquer the 78th floor. The scene just now was like a nightmare. But Chu Jia was sure that it was definitely not a dream. Maybe it's some kind of prophecy, maybe it's his final destiny after traveling through time. Thank you for the compliment, Lord Guard. Clearing the 100th floor is just a fluke. But I'm a little tired now and want to take a rest first. Please forgive me, the guards and everyone. Chu Jia forced a smile and said tiredly. After conquering 100 floors all the way, and finally launching the strongest move, 10,000 swords returned to 1, Chu Jia's physical strength was already exhausted. And the pictures he saw in the copy of the college entrance examination gave him a huge mental impact. At this moment, Chu Jia's face was pale and he looked extremely weak. Hearing this, Zhang Yanqing slapped his forehead and said extremely apologetically. Look at me, I'm so happy that I neglected little friend Chu Jia's physical condition. My little friend, I will personally take you back to the villa to rest. After finishing speaking, Zhang Yanqing turned to face the dignitaries and said loudly. Everyone, I know you want to make friends with Chu Jia, but there is no sincerity in being empty-handed. Why don't you all go back and make preparations? It won't be too late to talk in detail after Chu Jia has rested. He Dao nodded silently when he heard this. Although he was eager to recruit Chu Jia to Kunlun Academy, he was not in a hurry. He already had every advantage at the moment, so he had to leave a good impression on Chu Jia. The other dignitaries also nodded one after another. Just saying a few nice words can't really highlight yourself, you must prepare generous gifts. However, at this moment, Liang Shanhai took a step forward and said respectfully. Lord Guard, I know that little friend Chu Jia is physically tired, but the damage my men have done to little friend Chu Jia's reputation makes me uneasy. Please give me a moment, Lord Guard, to apologize to little friend Chu Jia. Zhang Yanqing's eyes turned when he heard this, knowing that Liang Shanhai was worried. If he didn't apologize in time, the Liang group might suffer Chu Jia's raging anger next time they meet. I can't make the decision on this matter. It depends on whether Chu Jia is willing to give you this moment. In an instant, everyone's eyes fell on Chu Jia. Chu Jia naturally recognized Liang Shanhai, the talker of the Liang group. But he was very curious. He destroyed his copy and killed his son. Why did this guy still apologize to him? I wonder why Boss Liang wants to apologize to me. Seeing that Chu Jia did not refuse directly, Liang Shanhai breathed a sigh of relief. He took out a bank card, handed it to Chu Jia respectfully, and said angrily, "Little friend Chu Jia, the people under my command have done something wrong and accused you of killing my son Liang Jinming, which has caused great harm to your reputation. I apologize for this. This is 30 million. Please accept it." The surrounding dignitaries all looked at this scene meaningfully. Liang Shanhai, an old guy, completely ignored himself as soon as he came up, and then gave him a generous gift of 30 million yuan. What a good trick. Although Chu Jia is a genius, he is still a child and did not know what happened on the rostrum at that time. I think it will be easy to forgive Liang Shanhai. However, what Chu Jia said next made everyone dumbfounded. "Oh, so that's it. Then you don't have to apologize. It was indeed me who killed Liang Jinming." As soon as this statement came out, Zhang Yanqing and He Dao changed their expressions. But Liang Shanhai raised his eyebrows and secretly applauded. "You dare to say something like murder in public. What an arrogant boy. He really doesn't know what the heavens and the earth are. You may never have imagined that your glorious future will be completely overturned because of these words of yours." Just when Liang Shanhai was planning to make a fuss about this, Chu Jia's next words made his heart sink to the bottom. "As for the reason, it's very simple. Liang Jinming colluded with the dungeon robbers to kill me and take back the core fragments of the iron mine dungeon. The situation was urgent and there was no video, but Zhang Qianan, Tang Ya, and Qin Xiaoxiao were all at the scene and can testify." Liang Shanhai's face turned pale in an instant, and his face was bloodless. He never expected that his stupid son would use the Liang group's black gloves to try to kill Chu Jia. As we all know, if you encounter a dungeon robber in a dungeon, you can fight back without limit. Even if you kill the dungeon robber, you don't have to take any responsibility. And those who cooperate with dungeon robbers are treated equally and are the public enemies of all job changers. The most important thing, still in the presence of Zhang Qianan and her 3 daughters. Anyone with a discerning eye can naturally see the conspiracy hidden in it. Liang Jinming didn't just want to attack Chu Jia at that time, he probably planned to attack everyone present. It's just that Chu Jia's strength is too strong, which makes Liang Jinming's plan fall apart. Suddenly, the faces of Zhang Yanqing, Tang Long, and Qin Yanhu were extremely gloomy. They all stared at Liang Shanhai unkindly. "Liang Shanhai, should you give us an explanation? The surface of Lengshan and the sea was as pale as earth, and I scolded Liang Jinming 180 times in my heart." He was indeed unaware of this matter. If he had known that Liang Jinming had any ill intentions towards the guard's daughter, he would probably have been ready to run away from Dongsheng City. How could he sit on the podium with such arrogance and watch the college entrance examination exercises? But now, he is really covered in yellow mud and his crotch is falling down. It is not just shit, but also shit. Little friend Chu Jia, misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Whether it is the copy of the iron mine or Liang Jinming's plan, it was all done by him alone and has nothing to do with my Liang group. I hereby declare that from now on, I, Liang Shanhai, and Liang Jinming will sever the father-son relationship. I will spend another 30 million, for a total of 60 million, to give to little friend Chu Jia, which will be regarded as compensation from my Liang group. Liang Shanhai ignored the questions from Zhang Yanqing and the other 3, and begged Chu Jia. He understood that the only breakthrough at this moment was Chu Jia. As long as Chu Jia, the rising star, forgives him, he will have a moment of respite. Even the guard, Zhang Yanqing, must be given a bit of mercy. Chu Jia looked at the 2 bank cards in Liang Shanhai's hand and said with a faint smile, "Boss Liang, is my life only worth 60 million? Hearing this, Liang Shanhai not only did not panic, but felt like he had grasped a life-saving straw. Chu Jia is bargaining, so there is an opportunity for negotiation. It's my fault. I'll add another 40 million to make up the whole sum. 100 million. I am willing to use 100 million to apologize to little friend Chu Jia. Please forgive me, little friend Chu Jia, for giving birth to an unworthy descendant. 100 million is already an astronomical figure for ordinary career changers." But Chu Jia shook his head with a smile. "Not enough." Liang Shanhai's eyes twitched and he cursed in his heart. 100 million is already the Liang Group's profit for a year. Isn't this enough? But he didn't dare to show any expression on his face, and said with great humility. Since little friend Chu Jia said it's not enough, let's make a price. As long as I, Liang, can bear it, I won't hesitate. Zhang Yanqing and a group of dignitaries also saw that Chu Jia was planning to kill Liang Shanhai severely. They were happy to see Liang Shanhai bleeding profusely, so they just ate the melon in silence. Chu Jia said lightly, I am a field master, so I don't need the money. Just convert it into a copy for me. Liang Shanhai was suddenly surprised when he heard this. Chu Jia must have the relevant special talent to be able to create a domain so quickly. In this case, we can only waste money to eliminate disaster. He took out a green core fragment from the backpack space and handed it to Chu Jia respectfully. Little friend Chu Jia, this is the core fragment of the Demon Willow Forest copy. It is worth 200 million. Please accept it without hesitation. Quote. Chu Jia glanced at it lightly, but did not pick it up. His face was full of disgust and he said, I don't like this copy, please change it. You. Liang Shanhai stared angrily and was so angry that he almost spit out a mouthful of blood. You still dislike a 200 million copy, don't be too greedy. Ahem, Boss Liang, since you sincerely apologize, why not take out all the dungeon cores and let Chu Jia choose? The profession of domain master has very high requirements for dungeons. If you give him a useless dungeon, it doesn't show your sincerity at all, right? At this moment, He Dao suddenly spoke. Although he was smiling, the terrifying aura exuding from his whole body pressed against Liang Shanhai mercilessly, making him tremble all over and almost lose his balance. How could he miss this opportunity to make a good impression in front of Chu Jia? Yes, Lao Liang, it's just a copy. Why not let Chu Jia pick it? The talent shown by little friend Chu Jia, I can't even see a copy of it. Old Liang, if you don't apologize sincerely, your chance will be gone. Seeing this, other dignitaries agreed. Borrowing flowers to offer to Buddha, you don't have to pay a penny of your own money, and you can gain a good impression in front of Chu Jia by touching your lips. This is simply a great thing. Liang Shanhai's face turned darker than the bottom of the pot. Does he dare to say, no? I'm afraid that the moment he said it, the pressure of the fourth rotation would crush him to the ground. Yes, what you are saying is that I didn't think enough about it. Come on, here are a dozen copies of my Liang group, please choose from my friend Chu Jia. Liang Shanhai felt extremely painful and took out all the core fragments of the copy. For a time, colorful lights shone in the square, so bright that it was difficult to open one's eyes. No doubt about it, these are very powerful dungeons, not comparable to the Iron Mine dungeons. Haha, since Boss Liang is so kind, I will be disrespectful. Chu Jia chuckled, choosing among the many copies, and finally selected the core fragment of the Ghost Valley copy. Although the Ghost Valley dungeon is not the highest level dungeon, it is definitely the most energetic dungeon. Among them, there are the most types of monsters and the most equipment and materials that can be exploded. It is the most common dungeon for job changers in Dongsheng City. Thinking about it, the realm created with this copy is definitely very powerful. Of course, Chu Jia actually wanted to get a few more dungeon fragments. But the copy is not only the private property of the Liang Group, but also related to the growth of all job transferees in Dongsheng City. If one copy is taken away, Zhang Yanqing can still turn a blind eye. If more copies are taken away, it may affect the development of the entire Dongsheng City. Not to mention that he doesn't want to see this kind of situation where the whole lake is exhausted. Guard Zhang Yanqing definitely doesn't agree with it either. Seeing Chu Jia taking away the copy core of Ghost Valley, Liang Shanhai was so heartbroken that he couldn't breathe. That is the biggest cash cow of the Liang Group, worth at least 500 million. Without this copy, the Liang Group is really devastated. Haha, little friend Chu Jia has such good eyesight. In that case, I will send someone to clear the copy now so that little friend Chu Jia can take over. Liang Shanhai said through gritted teeth, turned around and quickly left the crowd. He understood that the decline of the Liang Group was a foregone conclusion, and now he must transfer assets to minimize his losses. Looking at Liang Shanhai's back, Zhang Yanqing did not stop him. He could not refute Chu Jia's face. Turning his head, Zhang Yanqing asked thoughtfully. Chu Jia, do you plan to just let the matter with the Liang group go? Chu Jia took out a stack of information from the backpack space and handed it to Zhang Yanqing. This is evidence collected from the three Huang brothers about various violations and crimes committed by the Liang group. Since I have accepted the apology, I can't continue to pester you. But I have no control over what the Lord Guard does. Zhang Yanqing glanced at the information with a knowing smile on his face. Haha, what a boy. One size fits the bill, be particular about it. Just to my taste. Chu Jia also smiled back and said nothing. Liang Jinming intended to take action against Zhang Qianan, because of the various criminal evidence of the Liang group and his own attitude. Chu Jia believes that guarding Zhang Yanqing will cause a complete reshuffle of the Liang group. After that, Zhang Yanqing drove himself and took Chu Jia back to the villa. Chu Jia, the college entrance examination still needs me to host it, so I will stay soon. You should have a good rest. I'm afraid you'll have to entertain a lot of people in the afternoon. Chu Jia nodded. Master Guard, you can do whatever you want. After Zhang Yanqing left, Chu Jia returned to his room. Chu Jia first called his elder sister and informed her of the end of the exam. Hey, sister, I've finished the exam. I have good news for you, I have cleared the 100th floor. Hearing Chu Jia's words, Chu Shuangyu breathed a long sigh of relief. Brother, seeing that you are still in the mood to brag, I'm relieved, sister. Grades or anything else is not important. Exams are what matters. Participation is important. When do you plan to come to Kyoto? I will book a ticket for you. Chu Jia really couldn't laugh or cry when he heard that Chu Shuangyu even said such words as, grades are not important, and, participation in the exam is important, in order to comfort herself. But he also knew that explanations were useless. Chu Shuangyu would never believe it without seeing it with her own eyes. Let's give my sister a surprise when we meet. Sister, let's do it tomorrow. I have some things to take care of today. Zhang Yanqing had already informed Chu Jia about Hidao on the way back. So Chu Jia no longer has any worries about entering Kunlun Academy. In addition, you also need to make the Ghost Valley copy into your own exclusive domain. One afternoon should be enough. Okay, I'll book a ticket for you later. You just go to the station tomorrow morning. Beware of strangers on the road. If a bad woman approaches you, don't. Listening to the chatter on the phone, Chu Jia looked constipated. After finally waiting for Chu Shuangyu to finish nagging, Chu Jia quickly found an excuse to hang up the phone. Lying on the bed, Chu Jia was exhausted and felt sleepy. But he didn't go to sleep immediately. Instead, he turned on his mobile phone and searched for various information. Chu Jia was still very concerned about the various scenes he saw after clearing the 100th floor. The background of scorched earth should be a prediction that the world is about to be destroyed. The culprits are undoubtedly those monsters. After thousands of years of experience accumulation, the powerful people in this world have divided the alien races that invaded the earth into 9 categories. Nature, wilderness, elements, machinery, death, abyss, stars, dreams, ocean. The monsters Chu Jia saw did not belong to any of these 9 categories. Well, no. To be precise, it should span 2 of the 9 categories. For example, the giant eagle monster is like a combination of a wild monster and a death monster. Octopus monster is like a combination of sea monster and natural monster. So, the alien race chose to marry in order to attack the Earth. Or did you use some special ability to directly combine the 2 monsters into a more terrifying monster? With doubts, Chu Jia searched for relevant information on the internet. After some searching, I actually found some similar pictures. But after Chu Jia's appraisal, they were all pictures of people having fun and having nothing to do. There is no valid information at all. Forget it, forget it. If the sky falls, a tall man will hold it up. Even if the world is going to be destroyed, it won't be my turn to save it. I'm just an 18-year-old kid. The kid is going to sleep now. Putting the phone aside, Chu Jia lay on the pillow and fell asleep. When I woke up again, it was already noon. After sleeping for 3 hours, Chu Jia felt full of blood and resurrected. When they came to the hall, Zhang Qianan's 3 daughters, their old father, and Hidao from Kunlun Academy were all there. Brother Jia, you wake up. You actually cleared 100 floors. That's amazing. However, we finally cleared the 80th floor. Seeing Chu Jia, the three girls left their old father behind and crowded over. Awesome, awesome. The 80th floor is enough to get into the top schools in Dragon Kingdom. Chu Jia followed the three girls to the sofa and sat down, saying hello to the four elders around him. Tang Long and Qin Yanhu nodded nervously. They had never been so awkward before regarding Chu Jia as Huang Mao. Now that they treat Chu Jia as their own son-in-law, they don't know what to do. Urgent, urgent. What topic should the father-in-law and son-in-law talk about when they meet? It's my first time being a father-in-law, so I don't understand much. Waiting online. Fortunately, He Dao on the side spoke in time, helping the two of them ease their embarrassment. Student Chu Jia's performance today really surprised me. Field Master, 100 levels. In just one day, Chu Jia, you have created two unprecedented achievements. You have achieved such an achievement just after changing your job. When you grow up in the future, you will definitely be proud of the 9 heavens, and the entire Dragon Kingdom will be proud of you. Chu Jia scratched his head in embarrassment. Teacher, he has received the award. Everything is cultivated by the country. He Dao was stunned when he heard this, and then burst into laughter. Haha, you're not arrogant, that's a good thing. Then I won't beat around the bush. Chu Jia, on behalf of Kunlun University, I formally invite you to join our school. Our school will give you the highest level of treatment, including unlimited use of the school copy, a scholarship of 20 million per year, and you can receive a piece of gold-level equipment every 10 levels. Hearing He Dao's words, Chu Jia couldn't help but exclaimed, hold the grass. Is it so tough? Chu Shuangyu is also a student at Kunlun Academy, so Chu Jia also knows how her admission treatment is. In addition to the unlimited use of copies, the other two items have been significantly reduced. There is only 1 million scholarships per year, and you can only receive one piece of gold-level equipment every 30 levels. Although 1 million may seem like a lot, it is simply not enough for purchasing resources and equipment. Compared with his own treatment, Chu Jia felt that his sister was treated like a refugee when she entered school. Chu Jia originally planned to join Kunlun Academy, and the treatment offered by He Dao was also quite sincere. Chu Jia didn't intend to continue to push the conditions, so he nodded and agreed. Just then, a mature and charming voice suddenly sounded in the hall. Student Chu Jia, don't be anxious. It's better to listen to the conditions of our Qingzhou Academy before making a decision. Quote, there are 10 top schools in the Dragon Kingdom, referred to as 1 state, 2 mountains, 3 martial arts and 4 beasts. Yizhou refers to the earliest, Shenzhou Academy, established in the Dragon Kingdom. Urshan refers to the Kunlun Academy, and Qingzhou Academy, with strong foundations. The 3 martial arts refer to the Shenwu Academy, Shengwu Academy, and Tianwu Academy, established by the Dragon Kingdom by investing massive resources. The 4 beasts are the Qinglong Academy, Suzaku Academy, White Tiger Academy, and Xuanwu Academy, that guard the 4 major borders of the Dragon Kingdom. And that sudden voice turned out to be someone from the Qingzhou Academy, which was as famous as the Kunlun Academy. Pink mist rippled in the hall, and a beautiful woman who still had charm walked out of it. This person has a face like a peach blossom, with a charming smile that dazzles all men, and a sweet smell wafting from his body, making people unable to help but wonder. Her eyes swept over everyone present, and finally stopped on Chu Jia. With Chu Jia's talent, you can naturally shine anywhere, but choosing the right university can help you grow up faster. Gudong. Chu Jia swallowed hard. He was sure that the beautiful woman in front of him didn't use any skills, but just the charming aura exuding from her body made him a little uneasy. It is rumored that Qingzhou Academy is full of beauties and specializes in charm and illusion. I'm afraid it's true. Su Yu, why are you here? Before Chu Jia could say anything, He Dao spoke with surprise on his face. As soon as Chu Jia's college entrance examination ended, he reported to the top management of Kunlun University to seal Chu Jia's college entrance examination results. Logically speaking, it is impossible for people from other schools to learn the news so quickly. What's more, it took him a whole night to get from Kyoto to Dongsheng City. Qingzhou Academy is located in the south of Dragon Kingdom and is further away. It is impossible to get there in just a few hours. Haha, what? Only your Kunlun Academy is allowed to recruit students, but no one from my Qingqiu Academy is allowed. He Dao, your Kunlun Academy is so unethical in what you do. You have blocked Chu Jia's information before he has even enrolled in school. Fortunately, I used the space teleportation scroll to rush here quickly, otherwise I would have let an old guy like you succeed. Su Yu glared at He Dao quite dissatisfied, and the atmosphere became tense. Chu Jia is a genius who has passed the college entrance examination copy. If it weren't for a teacher from Qingqiu Academy who happened to be studying nearby, I'm afraid they would really have missed this talented youngster. Although Qingqiu University and Kunlun University are evenly matched, they have been secretly competing for the position of the second most prestigious school. Obviously, whoever can win Chu Jia can secure the second spot in the Dragon Kingdom. There is even a chance to challenge the #1 Chinese university. Therefore, Qingqiu Academy is bound to win over Chu Jia. What? A space teleportation scroll? Are you taking this thing on your way? He Dao felt inexplicably panicked when he heard that Su Yu had used a space teleportation scroll worth hundreds of millions in order to rush to Dongsheng City. No wonder it came so quickly, this woman is so ruthless. He Dao quickly took out the admission notice, handed it to Chu Jia, and winked crazily. Ahem, Su Yu, you're late. Student Chu Jia has actually agreed to join Kunlun Academy. We have just reached an agreement, and my admission notice is ready. Come on, classmate Chu Jia, here is your admission notice and student card. Take it, we will be a family from now on, ha ha, ha ha ha. Chu Jia touched his nose and did not pick it up immediately. He said with a smile. Teacher He, it's not easy for Teacher Su to come all the way here. I think it would be more polite to let her tell her about the conditions of Qingqiu Academy, don't you think? Quote. He Dao twitched the corner of his mouth and raised the price. Are you still polite? Hypocritical, haha, classmate Chu Jia is still sensible. Unlike some old things, they go back as they live. Su Yuchao smiled brightly, sat on the sofa with her legs crossed, and began to explain the admissions treatment of Qingqiu University with a smile. Classmate Chu Jia, as long as you join our Qingqiu Academy, we will directly give you 50 million, and you can receive the same amount of scholarship every year in the future. In addition, for every 10 levels, you can receive a set of gold level equipment. It's a set, unlike some schools that only give you one piece. As for the school's dungeon resources, you can also use them without restriction. Our Qingqiu Academy has 1/3 more dungeon resources than some schools. Finally, our Qingqiu Academy has a special advantage. I think you know that there are many beauties. A genius like you will definitely be very popular when he joins the school. While Su Yu was talking, he didn't forget to tease He Dao, which made He Dao's face turn white and red. The south of the Dragon Kingdom has been richer than the north since ancient times. Due to its proximity to the ocean, the south has much more dungeon resources than the north. Compared with what He Dao just said, the conditions offered by Su Yu are simply amazing. Tang Long and Qin Yanhu looked at each other with shock in their eyes. A set of gold-level equipment is probably worth tens of millions to start with. This is still priceless. Qingqiu Academy gives them away whenever they want, but they still give them one set for every 10th level. It's so inhumane. Ahem. Chu Jia was also shocked by Su Yu's offer. They say Southerners are rich, today is an eye-opener. However, Chu Jia of Qingqiu Academy still won't go. After all, his only relative is in Kunlun Academy, and he has to go to Kyoto to reunite no matter what. Of course, this does not affect Chu Jia looking at He Dao expectantly. Chu Jia's eyes were so innocent and pure, but in He Dao's eyes, they turned into 3 words. More money quickly. Why? He Dao sighed deeply in his heart, knowing that if he wanted to capture Chu Jia, he would have to bleed a lot. Taking a deep breath, as if he had made some kind of determination, He Dao said forcefully. Student Chu Jia, the conditions mentioned by Qingqiu Academy, we at Kunlun Academy will provide the same treatment. Besides, as long as Chu Jia joins Kunlun Academy, your sister Chu Shuangyu will also enjoy the same treatment. After saying that, He Dao looked at Su Yu with some pride. The biggest advantage of Kunlun Academy is Chu Jia's sister Chu Shuangyu. This time, he directly doubled the treatment, and the effect achieved was not just as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Now let's see how Qingqiu Academy can compete with me. Although this wave of bleeding was a bit harsh, but He Dao believes that as long as he can recruit Chu Jia, it will be worth it no matter how much he spends. Oh my god, Lao He, you are recruiting students with loans. Guard Zhang Yanqing's eyes widened with astonishment on his face. As a student of Kunlun University, he knew very well that the treatment He Dao just mentioned was not included in the admissions regulations. In other words, He Dao is killing it first and playing it later. In order to recruit Chu Jia, He Dao is spending a lot of money. My sister has been upgraded from refugee to supreme VIP. Chu Jia didn't expect that Kunlun Academy would directly change Su Yu's conditions. But I have to say that such conditions are indeed more humane and make Chu Jia more satisfied. Su Yu was also surprised by He Dao's courage, and her eyebrows knitted tightly together. The conditions she gave were already the highest treatment in the history of Qingqiu Academy. Unexpectedly, Kunlun Academy not only followed up, but also doubled the number. The point is, He Dao is still playing the emotional card, which is so untrue. But Su Yu was still a little unwilling, thought for a moment and said, Chu Jia, if your sister is willing, she can transfer to Qingqiu Academy. When He Dao heard this, his expression changed and he stood up suddenly. Hey, Su Yu, it's okay if you poach Chu Jia, but it's a bit shameless if you poach Chu Shuangyu. Su Yu snorted coldly. Who said you can't transfer to another university? Women always make several wrong choices when they are young. He Dao was speechless, and was confused by Su Yu's chicken soup literature for a while. Chu Jia was also a little dumbfounded and interrupted the farce. Teacher Su, my sister is used to Kunlun University. It will be inconvenient to transfer to another school. My final decision is to go to Kunlun University. However, I would like to thank Qingqiu University for taking me seriously. I will keep this friendship in my heart. When Su Yu heard this, he pursed his red lips and let out a long sigh. She also guessed that Chu Jia's initial plan was to go to Kunlun Academy. If he hadn't interrupted midway, I'm afraid Chu Jia would have already enrolled in Kunlun Academy. However, Qingqiu Academy got a gift of friendship from a genius without spending a penny, so it seemed like it was not a loss. It doesn't seem like not a penny was spent. The space teleportation scroll costs hundreds of millions. Hardtake. Su Yuqiang smiled and spoke generously. Haha, since classmate Chu Jia has already made a decision, I can't force it. If Chu Jia has time, you can come to our Qingqiu Academy as a guest. We warmly welcome you. Next, Su Yu did not leave immediately. Hundreds of millions of travel expenses have been spent, so we must keep in touch with each other. He Dao and Su Yu, two RANK4 experts, arrived, and the host Zhang Yanqing prepared a sumptuous luncheon. The ownership of Chu Jia has been settled, and the atmosphere between He Dao and Su Yu is not so tense. After the meal, everyone was enjoying themselves and was very happy. After the meal, Su Yu decided to recruit Zhang Qianan, Tang Ya, and Qin Xiaoxiao into Qingqiu Academy. Although the results of the three women are still slightly lacking, after getting to know them, they are all very good friends of Chu Jia, and they are even somewhat ambiguous friends. She believed that with Chu Jia here, the three girls' future achievements would definitely be good. Moreover, even if you come all the way here, you won't come back empty-handed. Zhang Qianan and the three girls were naturally very happy. Their original University of Hope was Suzaku Academy, one of the top 10 schools in the Dragon Kingdom. Su Yu recruited them out of the norm, which is a great joy. The three old fathers Zhang Yanqing, Tang Long, and Qin Yanhu were laughing from ear to ear. They knew very well that this was all Chu Jia's fault. The three old fathers pulled Chu Jia to call him brother and sister, almost to the point of worshipping him. Fortunately, Zhang Qianan and the three girls stopped them in time. They call them brother Chu Jia, and their father calls them brother Chu Jia. Isn't this a bit different? In the afternoon, the dignitaries and senior officials of Dongsheng City lined up to give gifts to Chu Jia. Densely packed dignitaries formed a long queue in front of the villa. The surrounding residents were stunned. These powerful people are usually aloof, but they didn't expect to have to queue up to give Chu Jia a gift. Chu Jia actually doesn't like socializing. But who can have trouble with money? In one afternoon, Chu Jia received various gifts whose total value probably exceeded 100 million. This amount is comparable to the annual profit of a leading company in Dongsheng City. Even the guard Zhang Yanqing couldn't help but feel envious when he saw it. Back then, he was a village boy and was admitted to Kunlun University. He was also a genius of his generation. However, the village gave him a basket of free-range eggs. Although this is also the wish of the villagers, compared with Chu Jia's hand cramps when receiving gifts, it is really too shabby. After receiving these dignitaries from Dongsheng City, it was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Chu Jia, let me tell you some good news. The Liang group secretly cultivated replica robbers and used coercion and inducement to engage in commercial activities. The crimes are lengthy and the evidence is conclusive. Currently, Liang Shanhai has been imprisoned and will probably undergo a lifetime of labor reform. The Liang group has also been seized by the town guard, and all major dungeon resources have been taken over by the town guard. After Zhang Yanqing heard the report from his subordinates, he said to Chu Jia with a smile. Zhang Yanqing had actually heard about the dirty deeds of the Liang group for a long time. However, such a giant enterprise is so entangled in Dongsheng City that it is really difficult to uproot it. This major operation mainly relied on Chu Jia's influence. In the face of a supreme genius, all the companies that had interests in the Liang group abandoned the dark side and turned to the bright side. Some people even took the initiative to report Liang Shanhai's escape plan. This made the clearing operation of the garrison go very smoothly. It did not cause much social disturbance in Dongsheng City. After a pause, Zhang Yanqing continued. We have basically cleared out the job transferees in the Ghost Valley dungeon. If you want to use it, you can go now. However, everything was too hasty. Maybe there are still a few job transfers that haven't been notified, or maybe someone hid them deliberately. Chu Jia nodded and said gratefully, Thank you, Lord Guard. I'll go over now. To create a domain, you only need to access the core of the dungeon. Whether there are people in the dungeon does not actually matter. As for the secret to quickly building your own domain, being able to create a sword realm in half a month is already astonishing. It doesn't matter if it's faster. Just give all the credit to special talents. Afterwards, Zhang Yanqing sent someone to send Chu Jia to the square where the Ghost Valley copy was located. The area around the square was cordoned off by people from the garrison, and the leader was none other than Zhang Shan. Chu Jia and Zhang Shan chatted for a few words before entering the Ghost Valley instance. The light and shadow changed, and Chu Jia came to a dark valley. The surrounding vegetation is a dull dark green. Although it is still growing vigorously, it reveals an indescribable air of death. From time to time, there are shrill ghost screams, as if countless ghosts are wailing, which is creepy. Several skeletons can be seen wandering aimlessly in the distance. Once a job changer enters their perception range, they will attack tirelessly. It is indeed a death-type copy. It is really gloomy. Chu Jia sighed and took out the core fragment from the backpack space. Suddenly, the core fragments emitted dazzling light, forming a bright light belt extending into the distance. Haha, here it comes, my second realm. Chu Jia couldn't hide his excitement, laughed loudly, and galloped along the light belt. Along the way, Chu Jia encountered many skeleton monsters and ghost monsters. Since he held the dungeon core fragment in his hand, the monster did not attack Chu Jia, as if it regarded him as its own kind. Soon, Chu Jia came to a dark pool. The light strip extends towards the pool, all the way down. Apparently, the core of the dungeon is at the bottom of the pool. Chu Jia summoned several domain swords, and without saying a word, controlled the flying swords to stir wildly in the pool. A waterspout rose from the ground, and the water in the pool was quickly drained. At the bottom of the pool, there is a huge boulder standing abruptly in the center, as if it is covering something. The direction the light belt points to is also at the bottom of the boulder. The sword light flew and the boulder shattered directly. A deep passage at the bottom was exposed. Chu Jia entered it without hesitation. After walking downward for an unknown amount of time, the dark space suddenly opened up, and a small open space appeared in front of me. And above the open space, the core of the copy of Ghost Valley is floating impressively. The core of this copy is like a crystal skull, emitting bright white light. His empty eyes stared at Chujia silently, looking extremely penetrating in the dark cave. Holy shit. I was shocked. Chujia slapped the core of the copy and let out a long breath. Ding, the core of Ghost Valley Dungeon has been detected. Do you want to make it an exclusive area? The moment he came into contact with the core of the copy, the system voice in his mind came as expected. Yes, Chujia responded decisively, with great expectations in his heart. The exclusive domain is being created, the current progress is 10%, 20%, 30%. Just like creating a sword domain, no materials are needed, and the progress of domain creation is beating rapidly. At the same time, the environment around Chujia was changing rapidly. The dark cave was twisted and stretched by invisible hands, like plasticine, reshaped into another shape. The entire valley was directly flattened, and the skeletons and undead in the copy disappeared silently, letting out sighs of relief. When Chujia opened his eyes again, he had returned to the surface. The sky is still dark and exudes an ominous atmosphere. But the surrounding mountains have disappeared, and what you can see is an endless plain. Different from ordinary plains, the surface of this plain is completely paved with corpses. The densely packed bones were broken into countless sections, occupying the entire plain like stones. My feet made a rustling sound when I stepped on it. I couldn't believe how many people had died here. Puff puff puff. 12 pale will-o-wisps lit up behind Chujia. They were arranged in 2 rows, floating silently in the air, guiding Chujia in the direction. At the end of the will-o'-the-wisp, a staircase of bones formed at some point. At the top of the stairs is a gloomy and cold bone throne. Chujia suddenly had a premonition in his heart. As long as you sit on the throne of bones, your second realm will be completely completed. Taking a deep breath, Chujia stepped up the stairs. Puff puff puff. Every time Chujia stepped onto the steps, will-o'-the-wisps would appear beside him. At the same time, the bones on the ground began to rustle, and the shrill ghost howl also echoed throughout the plain. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. When Chujia stepped onto the 12th step, the bone throne suddenly appeared in front of him. Pale, ice cold, made from the hardest femur bone in the human body. Chujia didn't hesitate and sat directly on it. 12 will-o'-the-wisps suddenly burned around the bone throne, making Chujia's face look like frost. Ding, the creation of the domain is completed. Congratulations on obtaining the domain of the undead, the place of exile. Place of exile, field, a place used to exile criminals. There is no food or water here. Other criminals are the only food. In order to survive, they can only continue to kill, but in the end, everyone will become a piece of the exile plane. Dry bones. With the sound of the system sound, the field is completely completed. The realm of the undead, the place of exile. Is this my second realm? Chujia murmured excitedly. The moment the domain was completed, he could feel that he had become the master of the entire plane. Place of exile. Type. Field. Skill. Bones of the eternal dead. The only way to survive in the land of exile is to become death itself, and you are the embodiment of death. The breath of death strengthens your bones. When you receive fatal damage, you enter the skeleton form, and all attributes are increased by 100%. The attack has a blood-sucking effect and can heal physical injuries. Awaken. Loyal slave. Domain skill. You are the incarnation of death and the master of death. With a single command, you can awaken all the undead in the land of exile. They will serve as an immortal undead army, loyal and loyal. Complete all your orders. Stand up. Reborn undead. In the eyes of the Lord of Death, death is rebirth. Give the dead new life and transform them into your new servants. Retain 100% of their strength. Wail. The lament of hell. Play the most beautiful lament with the ultimate breath of death. After using the skill, your undead servant will enter a violent state, and all attributes will increase by 100%, which will last until the summoning ends. Hold the grass. Is this the skill of the land of death? Made. So perverted. So awesome. I love it so much. Looking at the 4 skills of Land of Death, Chujia was extremely happy. Different from the strong attack skills of Chaotic Sword Mountain, the skills of Death Land are almost all related to the undead. Not only can these endless skeletons be turned into an army of the undead, but all dead creatures can also be transformed into new undead. What doesn't kill me will make me stronger. Whatever I kill will become my little brother. Isn't this equivalent to me starting another profession, necromancer? Chu Jia swallowed hard and couldn't suppress the smile at the corner of his mouth no matter what. No, to be precise, my current ability is more powerful than that of the necromancer. Although necromancers are SSS level professions, there is an upper limit on the number of undead they can summon, and I have no upper limit at all. Furthermore, there are strict level requirements for summoning the undead. Even if the summons is successful, the strength will be reduced compared to when he was alive. And I can not only summon undead across levels, but I can also retain 100% of my original strength. If I can get a few corpses that turn 6 or 7, wouldn't I be able to ascend from the same place and become invincible? Chu Jia was daydreaming. Not to mention, there is also Howl. The Lament of Hell. This super powerful amplifying skill has no side effects and lasts until the summoning is over. Of course, the most perverted skill is probably the Bone of the Eternal Dead. When you are fatally injured, turn on the skeleton form and attack to restore blood. This directly gave me a second life. Moreover, if used properly, this second life can also cause an infinite loop of bugs. In short, the 4 skills attached to Land of Death can only be described in 3 words: invincible. Let's see if the properties have changed. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Chu Jia opened his attribute panel, and his eyes lit up again. Chu Jia. Occupation: Field Master. Level: LV 40, 1 turn. Physique: 701. Spirit: 693. Power: 715. Speed: 684. Talent: Field Vision. Special: Sword Domain Chaos Sword Mountain 994 10,000ths Undead Domain Land of Death 0 10,000ths. Skills: Tiandao Sword Body, True Sword Control Technique, 10,000 Swords Chaozong, 10,000 Swords Gai. Oh my god, my original attributes should have been less than 500, but now they have soared to 700. All attributes have increased by more than 200. Physique and strength have increased the most. Chu Jia looked at his attribute panel and was stunned with surprise. He thought that after the Ghost Valley copy was turned into a domain, the increase for him would be huge. I never expected it to be so big. With 700 attribute points, even if you face a second-level master, you can still fight, right? But I'm only level 40 now. I'm still 60 levels away from the second level. Not to mention, those who change jobs after the second job will have a huge increase in attributes. What a pervert. Even a pervert like me thinks it's a bit perverted. Chu Jia couldn't help but sigh again. Domain Master is indeed the most powerful profession, bar none. However, I am afraid that the only one who can create a field so wantonly is myself, a plug-in field master. Taking a deep breath, Chu Jia hummed. Wake up, faithful servant. The low voice is like the command of hell, there is no doubt about it. A breath of death spreads from the throne of bones and sweeps across the entire exiled land. Kaka, Kaka. In an instant, the entire place of exile became agitated. The numerous white bones began to tremble, the broken skulls, broken spines, and incomplete limbs began to reorganize under the pull of the breath of death. White hand bones stretched from the ground into the air, and terrifying skeletons stood up straight. They have no flesh and blood, no life, only white bones exuding the breath of death. They all faced the direction of the bone throne, thousands of empty eyes staring at Chu Jia on the throne, and knelt down on one knee. Puff puff puff. Lines of pale will-o'-the-wisps burned in the empty eye sockets of the undead army. They were the immortal fire of death. The entire battlefield was shrouded in the breath of death, and the air was filled with a suffocating sense of oppression. Roar. The undead skeletons let out waves of low roars. This is their gratitude to the Lord of Death for giving them the new life of death. Seeing the mighty and endless spreading undead army, Chu Jia suddenly felt a sense of heroism in his heart. From now on, I can form an army by myself. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and looked in several directions of the place of exile. Ha, as the guard said, there are a few little bugs still hidden in the copy. Forget it, just throw it out, just to see the strength of the undead army. Somewhere in exile, a team of 5 people looked at the skeletons kneeling around them, horrified to the extreme. They are 2 men and 3 women, and they are a team that works together all year round to win gold. Previously, they received an order to leave from the town guard, but they pretended to obey, but in fact they hid secretly. Everyone else is gone, so don't all the monster resources in Ghost Valley belong to them? Everything was just as they expected. After most of the job changers evacuated, they didn't have to spend time grabbing monsters. They had a great time killing them. However, just now, they hummed a tune and farmed monsters, and the sky fell. It's not an exaggeration, it's so naive. The sky and the earth seem to be pinched together, and everything around is undergoing strange changes. They are like falling into a drum washing machine and can only drift with the tide under this terrifying power. Fortunately, the force that resembled the will of the world did not harm them. After everything calmed down, they returned to the ground intact. However, Ghost Valley is missing. They came to a vast plain, and what they saw was full of bones. Everyone was stunned. Where did this riding horse come from? Is this still in China? However, what is even more confusing is yet to come. A suffocating breath swept across, and all the bones on the ground began to tremble, forming horrifying skeleton soldiers. All the skeletons faced the same direction and knelt down together, as if they were worshipping a powerful being. Brother, where is this? Could we have been dragged into another world? Oh my God, these skeletons are so scary. They actually kneel down, as if they are intelligent. What are they worshipping? They are so scared. Woohoo. If I had known earlier, I should have listened to the governor's words and evacuated early. I didn't want to die. What to do? What to do? How about we kneel down too? There are so many skeletons kneeling, so we stand too conspicuously. The 5-man team was completely panicked. Just looking at the huge army of skeletons made people breathless. Not to mention that there might be a skeleton king in the distance. Just as they were whispering, the 5 skeletons in front of them suddenly stood up and attacked unceremoniously. Ah, be careful. The 5 people were already on alert, but when they saw the 5 skeletons rising up to attack, they subconsciously made a counterattack. Swords, fire, ice, and various skills were thrown at the skeleton. However, the sword collided with the skeleton, making a clanging sound of gold and iron, leaving only a shallow white mark. The fire and ice only made a few medium-sized dents on the skeleton. But nourished by the breath of death, the pits visibly returned to their original state. Senbai's bone claws passed through the attack and hit the 5 people directly. The 5 level 38 job transferees groaned and flew out. So strong. These skeletons are not comparable to those in Ghost Valley. We can't even take a single move, it's too scary. It's over. These can't be real aliens, right? I can't even see their attribute panels. What to do? What to do? I don't want to die yet. Can someone save me? The faces of the 5 job transferees were pale. They never expected that these skeletons could be so terrifying. They were not enemies of the One Alliance at all. The leading man endured the pain in his body and got up with difficulty. Sorry, we got here by mistake. We didn't mean any harm. If you can tell us how to leave, we'll leave now. He spoke with an ugly face, trying to negotiate with these undead. These undead souls have faith and maybe they can communicate. At the very least, the skeleton king that these skeletons worship is probably wise enough. But the only problem is that they are too weak. Their strength cannot even defeat an undead skeleton. The only hope can only be placed on the mercy of the skeleton king. However, does a death monster like a skeleton really have such emotions as pity? Chapter 71. Seemingly confirming the big man's conjecture, the skeleton directly lifted the big man up without any reply. Looking at the pale will-o'-the-wisp swaying in the eye sockets, the big man felt ashen. The 4 team members were equally desperate and gave up all resistance. Not to mention that these monsters are terrifyingly strong and cannot be fought against at their level. Even if they work together to solve 1 or 2, what's the use? There are tens of thousands of skeletons on this plane, and they will eventually die at the hands of the skeletons. Maybe after death, they will become the same skeletons. The big man closed his eyes in despair, waiting for death to come. The next moment, a gate to the domain appeared in the air, and 5 skeletons were tossed casually, and the 5 job transferees left the place of exile directly. Thump. The 5 people fell heavily to the ground, and the scene in front of them suddenly became clear. This is the dungeon square of Ghost Valley. We're back. We're back. Not dead. We are not dead. Thank you, Uncle Skeleton. Thank you, King of Skeletons. Thank you for not killing The 5 job transferees couldn't believe it at first. Those cold undead really let them go. After repeated confirmations, I finally believed that they had really returned to their original world. The 5 people hugged each other and cried, their whole bodies trembling with excitement, and they were extremely grateful to those skeletons. At this moment, Zheng Shan came to the 5 people with several members of the garrison. What did you just see in the copy? When they saw the people coming from the governor's mansion, the 5 of them felt as if they were seeing their relatives. They poured beans out of a bamboo tube and told everything they saw. Zheng Shan listened quietly, feeling equally shocked. If it is as she suspected, Chu Jia has the ultimate talent to quickly create a field. What might have taken others more than 10 years or decades to accomplish, he only needed a few seconds. It's so terrifying. Don't tell anyone about what you saw today, otherwise you will be responsible for the consequences. Zheng Shan exuded the second-level coercion, directly covering the 5 people. The 5 people nodded repeatedly, knowing without thinking that they had accidentally come into contact with a huge secret. It's good luck that he didn't die. How could he still go out and talk nonsense? Seeing that the 5 people agreed repeatedly, Zheng Shan nodded with satisfaction and asked her subordinates to take the 5 people to sign the contract. This further ensures security. Immediately afterwards, more than a dozen job transferees were thrown out one after another in the dungeon square. They all have small thoughts and want to take advantage of the copy. However, I did not take advantage of it, but I actually felt the fear of death. Everyone's face was pale with fear, and it would probably take a long time to heal from the psychological trauma. Zheng Shan controlled all these people and only let them leave after signing the contract. Chu Jia, who possesses the sword domain, is already a genius that is rare to see in the Dragon Kingdom in a century. Now that he has created a second realm, his strength may be comparable to mine. Hey, is this a monster genius? It's really unreasonable. Place of exile. Chu Jia used his field vision to check and confirmed that there were no more hidden job transfers in the exiled land. With a thought, the will-o'-the-wisps in the eyes of the undead army extinguished and turned into corpses everywhere again. After the test just now, Chu Jia had a preliminary understanding of the strength of the undead army. The strength of a skeleton is around LV 50, which is not particularly high. But the undead army is not known for its single strength. Its immortality is its most terrifying feature. Tens of thousands of undead skeletons pounced on them together, and even a second-level master would probably have to flee in confusion. However, you can also use the sword domain while summoning the undead army. Equip each undead skeleton with the sword of the realm. In this way, the single combat power of the skeleton undead can be greatly improved. The only problem is that controlling 2 major areas at the same time is too costly for the current Chu Jia. Dozens of skeletons can barely do it, but Chu Jia can't do it yet with tens of thousands of skeletons holding swords of the realm to fight at the same time. I think this problem will be improved after my second transfer, or when my field advances. Chu Jia's eyes flashed. He waved his hand to summon the gate of the domain, and left the place of exile with satisfaction. Congratulations, your strength may have surpassed mine now. Seeing Chu Jia coming, Zheng Shan took the initiative to congratulate him and was filled with emotion. Haha, it's not that exaggerated. Chu Jia smiled modestly, chatted with Zheng Shan for a while, and then returned to the villa. He will go to Kyoto tomorrow, so he wants to say goodbye to Zhang Qianan and the 3 girls. A night of partying. The next day, Chu Jia took a bus to the train station in Dongsheng City, and traveling with him was Hidao from Kunlun University. Chu Jia is now the golden child of their Kunlun Academy. Naturally, Hidao must follow him at all times to prevent any accidents from happening to him. The high-speed train from Dongsheng City to Kyoto takes 12 hours, so Chu Jia and Hidao bought sleeper berths. After the 2 got in the car, they chatted for a while, and Hidao briefly introduced Kunlun University to Chu Jia. Then, Chu Jia closed his eyes and took a nap. The train started up and the speed was very fast and steady. Dragon Kingdom's infrastructure never disappoints. Chu Jia slept comfortably halfway through, and didn't get up until he felt hungry at noon, planning to go to the dining car to buy something to eat. At this moment, the train suddenly lit up with a flashing red light. Accompanied by the friction sound of emergency braking, the speed of the train suddenly slowed down. The huge inertia made Chu Jia almost fall on the carriage. Fortunately, He Dao quickly dragged Chu Jia with his quick eyes and let Chu Jia land smoothly. What's going on? Chu Jia was shocked and confused, and the whole train began to commotion. Dear travelers, I am very sorry for the bad experience I have brought to you. Spatial fluctuations were detected 1 kilometer ahead of the train, and alien monsters were invading, so the train chose to brake urgently. Passengers, please don't worry. There is a special security team on the train, and we have also notified the town hall of the nearest city. Passengers, please stay calm in your seats. I believe we will solve this incident perfectly. The announcement on the train rang, and the conductor explained to the passengers what had just happened. It's really unfortunate that we encountered an alien invasion. Chu Jia sighed, but his nervous heart gradually relaxed. The unknown is the scariest thing. If you know what is happening, you can respond. With his current strength, even if aliens invade, he will have no problem protecting himself. He Dao smiled at Chu Jia and corrected. Dragon Kingdom's railway line is the longest in the world. On such a vast line, it is not that strange to encounter an alien invasion. This kind of thing happens almost every month. Don't worry, we already have a sound response strategy. Chu Jia, don't move around here. I'm going to help and deal with the aliens as soon as possible. Aliens are the common enemies of all human beings. When facing an alien invasion, all job transferees have the responsibility to participate in the battle. However, the alien monsters are much stronger than the monsters in the dungeon, and they are also more cruel and bloodthirsty. Therefore, career changers who do not have enough level should focus on self-protection. Chu Jia nodded in agreement. Seeing He Dao leaving quickly, Chu Jia felt a little uneasy. He believed in the strength of the Dragon Kingdom, but this alien invasion happened to occur in a wilderness. There is no human habitation for dozens of kilometers around. It may take a long time for support from the nearby garrison to arrive. Can the train's security personnel sustain it for such a long time? If, as Chu Jia had guessed, only 20 minutes had passed, the announcement on the train sounded again. Friends, travelers, the monsters invaded this time are aliens from the abyss. They have the attribute of immortality and are extremely difficult to deal with. Quote, combat professions with level 3 or above, auxiliary professions with level 2 or above, and light professions are now being recruited to participate in the battle. Please meet the requirements for job transfer and go to the battlefield as soon as possible. After the battle is won, Dragon Kingdom officials will give you corresponding rewards based on your contribution. The train conductor's voice was a little urgent, and it was obvious that the battle situation was somewhat unfavorable, which was beyond his expectation. However, the Dragon Kingdom's successful handling of alien invasion cases again and again gave the people great confidence. Everyone believes that as the descendants of the dragon, as long as we work together, there is no mountain that cannot be overcome. One after another figures left the train and headed to the front line full of fighting spirit to resist the alien invasion. This kind of good opportunity to promote the spirit of the Dragon Kingdom and earn a lot of military exploits is rare. Chu Jia also had the urge to try a real alien invasion. This is something you can only see in the news and books. However, he also knew that although he was abnormal, he was not good enough in front of the third-turn monster. Therefore, as long as the blood is stirring in his heart, he will not really go to the battlefield to die. Chu Jia walked out of the berth and came to the carriage. At this moment, many people had gathered here. Everyone was staring at the big screen in front of the carriage, where a dark red portal was quietly suspended. One after another, figures rushed into the portal, entered the dungeon, and fought monsters. Although the outside world cannot see the specific scene, everyone seems to be able to imagine the fierce battle scene in their hearts. Hey, I wish I was only a second-level warrior, otherwise I would have gone to the front lines to kill the enemy. Haha, I probably won't need you anymore. At least 10 masters of rank 3 or above came to help just now. I really don't know what these monsters are trying to do by invading our world. Are they simply killing people? Never mind them, they will all become copies in the end anyway and become resources for our upgrades. Haha. The passengers in the carriage were quite optimistic. However, the next moment, everyone's expressions changed. Monster. Why did the monster escape? I saw a dark magic wolf suddenly emerge from the portal. Its whole body is covered with jet black hair, like an evil thing that breeds in the darkness, exuding an ominous aura. Scarlet Eyes glanced around, finally determined the direction, and rushed towards the direction of the train at high speed. While running at high speed, its body gradually flattened, as if it turned into a shadow, and the speed was extremely strange. Bang! At this moment, a slightly fat figure suddenly fell from the sky and hit the demon wolf accurately. The demon wolf emerged from the shadow state and became a corpse. The obese middle-aged man gave the demon wolf a solemn look, picked up the walkie-talkie and said something. Then, the train conductor's voice sounded in the carriage. "Dear travelers, I'm very sorry to bother you again. This alien invasion is more troublesome than we expected. The abyss monsters are not only powerful, but also abnormally large in number. Here, I recruit job transferees again to join the battle. The main force of the abyss monsters has been stopped by the warriors at the front. The ones that invade our world are only some LV-60 LV-90 monsters. Those with strength above level 2 can participate. It will take half an hour for the support from the garrison to arrive. All you need to do is guard outside the dungeon gate and stop the escaping monsters. The alien monsters are very powerful, so please do not take any unauthorized actions if you are a second level or lower class transfer. On behalf of the EMU members, I would like to thank you all for your hard work." It turned out that this obese middle-aged man was the conductor. Upon hearing the train conductor's call, some second-level masters rushed out impatiently. Normally, they would not be able to take part in the invasion of alien races, but today is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Moreover, if you are just dealing with some monsters in the late stage of the first turn, isn't that just a matter of pinching them with your hands? Chu Jia saw more than 100 people pouring out on the big screen, and the war that had just been extinguished in his heart started to burn again. If it's just a late-game monster, it seems like I can definitely participate in it now. Moreover, now I don't have to go into battle to kill the enemy myself. Summon the skeleton undead to fight, and just pick up the corpses behind the large army. With this in mind, Chu Jia walked out of the carriage without hesitation and planned to head to the battlefield. However, a stewardess stopped him seriously. "Sir, judging by your age, you should have just changed jobs, right? Alien invasion is not a place for fun. For your safety, please wait peacefully on the train." Chu Jia glanced at the stewardess and explained, "I said I am strong enough to fight the monsters in the abyss. Do you believe it or not?" The stewardess smiled politely and shook her head slightly. Glancing at the big screen, dozens of demon wolves have rushed out of the portal and are fighting with the second echelon. Although most of the job changers were in their second job, the battle situation was not overwhelming, but rather a source of anxiety. "Sir, you have also seen that alien monsters are not comparable to dungeon monsters. Their strength is enough to rival second-level masters. For your safety, and in order not to cause trouble to the soldiers ahead, please return to your compartment and wait with peace of mind. I believe we will be able to properly resolve this incident." The stewardess persuaded politely again. To be so polite at such a moment shows that the flight attendant's work level is quite high. Chu Jia scratched his head, a little embarrassed. He knew that the stewardess was doing it for his own good, and he also knew that the war situation was tense. But it is precisely because of this that he has to go to the battlefield. Having him as a cheating player can definitely help relieve the pressure on our side. However, this flight attendant lady is obviously not good at fuel and salt. Is it possible that she needs to use force? Look at this young lady's pretty features, red lips and white teeth. She will probably cry for a long time after being punched, right? After thinking about it, Chu Jia gave up the rude idea. He took out a card from the backpack space and waved it in front of the stewardess's eyes. "Can this prove my strength?" The stewardess looked at Chu Jia with a smile, and she had already made up her mind that no matter what Chu Jia said or did, she would not let him go to the front line. However, when she saw the logo on the card, her pretty fair face was suddenly shocked. "Are you a student of Kunlun University?" The stewardess took the student card and checked it on her device. It was confirmed that it was indeed a certificate from Kunlun University, and that he was a freshman who had just enrolled this year. She never expected that Chu Jia would be the genius of a top prestigious school. Seeing the expression on the stewardess's face, Chu Jia's lips curled up slightly, and it looked like everything was fine. Kunlun Academy's cards are quite impressive. However, The stewardess hesitated for a moment, still shook her head and refused. Sorry, Mr. Chu-jia, I still can't let you go to the front line. The front line is dangerous. As the genius of the Dragon Kingdom, you need enough time to grow, rather than taking risks now. She knew that the students who could get into Kunlun Academy should have passed level 90 in the college entrance examination copy and were very powerful. But facing the alien races in the abyss, I'm afraid they can only protect themselves. The flight attendant thought it was not worth it to let a top talent take risks for an ordinary alien invasion. Ah, it seems like what you said makes sense. Chu-jia held his chin, nodded thoughtfully, and then smiled at the flight attendant. However, my ability can summon the undead to fight, so I don't need to fight in person. After saying that, Chu-jia rushed directly to the door. Sir, you. The stewardess hurriedly stopped her. She stretched out her hand halfway and it was like an electric shock, and she retracted in horror. 3 gloomy skeletons suddenly appeared around her. They just stood quietly, forming a wall of bones to block the stewardess, and the swaying pale will-o'-the-wisp stared straight at her. Ah! The stewardess yelled and almost cried in fear, feeling extremely aggrieved. If you have something to say, why don't you scare people with skeletons? Woohoo! He's still so handsome, bad man. The stewardess cursed secretly in her heart, but she had the courage on her face and said to the skeleton. Your master has gone out, you don't have to stop me here. Go and help your master, don't let him be in danger. She knew that there was a limit to the number of undead summons that the necromancer could summon. In order to stop himself, it was really a waste to directly summon 3 of them. As if they understood what the stewardess said, the 3 skeletons left the train and chased after Chu-jia. The stewardess also looked at the big screen uneasily and prayed in her heart. Don't let anything happen. Chu-jia ran all the way and soon came to the place where the train conductor had just killed the demon wolf. The demon wolf lay on the ground like a dead dog, a big hole opened in its body, and dark demon blood flowed all over the ground. What is already dead cannot die again. To others, it is a useless corpse. But to Chu-jia, he was a powerful thug. Stand up, new undead. Without saying anything, Chu-jia directly activated the skill. A light gray breath of death spread out from Chu-jia's body, wrapping around the demon wolf in strands. The demon wolf's stiff body suddenly twitched a few times, and then stood up from the ground unsteadily. Puff! A pale will-o'-the-wisp burned in his eyes, replacing the original scarlet eyes. The undead demon wolf is back from the dead. Shadow Wolf Undead Servant. Level: LV 60. Physique: 480. Spirit: 485. Power: 479. Speed: 489. Talent: Shadow Healing. Skills: Shadow Stealth, Shadow Raid, Bite. Chu-jia was amazed when he saw the attribute panel of Shadow Wolf. As expected of a true alien race, it is much stronger than the dungeon monsters of the same level. This, Shadow Healing, talent should be the source of the immortality attribute. Quote. No wonder the train conductor specifically emphasized that job transferees under the second transfer should not go there without permission. I'm afraid that if 3 or 4 level 60 job transfers come together, they may not be able to win a Shadow Wolf 100%. Immediately afterwards, he ordered Shadow Wolf to go to the front line to support the battle. Chu-jia himself followed closely behind, keeping a safe distance. Hey, where did this kid come from? Why did he end up on the battlefield? Looking at your age, you must have just changed jobs, right? Isn't this looking for death? It doesn't matter if he seeks death on his own, don't affect the frontline battle. Children today are really too, holding grass. What the hell, that devil wolf stood up again. Didn't he die just now? No, look at his eyes, they are white will-o'-the-wisps. He has become undead. Oh my god, could this kid be a necromancer? I take back what I just said, the kids today are really amazing. The large army has been fighting against the abyss monster for a while, and Chu-jia rushing towards the battlefield alone is so conspicuous. At first, when everyone saw that Chu-jia was so young, they just thought he was a student who was just joining in the fun, and they criticized him one after another. But seeing that he actually made the demon wolf into an undead, these people immediately shut up. The flight attendant's beautiful eyes also widened with shock on her face. Oh my god, That dead demon wolf was turned into an undead by Mr. Chujia in just a few dozen seconds. Even students from Kunlun Academy are only at level 30 or above after just transferring. And the level of the demon wolf is at least LV 60. Summoning undead across level 30 is still so fast. This classmate Chujia is probably an evil genius with special talents. With his help, maybe the battle situation on the front line can really alleviate a lot of pressure. Outside the portal, shadow wolves rushed out of the dungeon one after another, causing the already unfavorable battle situation to begin to risk getting out of control. Mad. No wonder the previous alien invasions didn't let us second-level enemies take action. These monsters are too difficult to deal with. Not only are they fast, they also have the property of being immortal. Killing them is too laborious. You're just stepping on the grass. Now that I'm here, even if I die, I will take away 2 heads, no. 3 heads. The job changers and the shadow wolves are killing each other like crazy. Swords, thunder and flames exploded in the wilderness one after another, erupting with continuous roars. The entire wilderness seemed to be washed away by cannonballs, with the ground covered in mess and blood flowing everywhere. These second-level job transferees initially went to the front line with the intention of gaining military merit. However, after the actual fight, they finally realized how terrifying these abyss monsters were. Each shadow wolf possesses extremely powerful attributes, and high-level monsters can even compete with second-level masters like them. Shadow wolves can even transform into shadows for fast movement and sneak attacks, making them extremely difficult to deal with. The most difficult thing is the immortality attribute, possessed by the abyss monsters. It is not difficult to seriously injure these monsters, but almost none of the job changers have the ability to kill them with one strike. If you want to kill a shadow wolf, you need multiple job transfers to work together. However, it was okay at the beginning. There were not many shadow wolves, and we could still fight one more. But now, dozens of shadow wolves are running out of the dungeon one after another, and the situation has completely turned into a group of shadow wolves beating the job changers. In this case, it is almost impossible to kill the shadow wolf. Everyone, tighten the front. Just hold back the abyss monster. The people guarding the mansion will be here soon. A middle-aged woman dressed as a flight attendant shouted loudly while using healing techniques to restore everyone's injuries. Everyone smiled bitterly and nodded. They were lucky to be able to hold on until the reinforcements from the garrison arrived. They couldn't hope to kill the shadow wolf now. The career changers began to shrink their defense lines, focusing on auxiliary occupations. Xiaoyan, come back quickly. In the center of the crowd, a priest girl with long hair shawl shouted anxiously. The staff in her hand kept shaking, and bright healing halos landed on a heroic girl holding a big sword in the battle circle. The girl with the big sword is named Lu Yan, and the girl with the priest is named Lu Xin. The two are cousins, both SSS-level job transferees. During the college entrance examination, the two teamed up together and cleared the 90th floor. In front of the giant ape on the 91st floor, he persisted for 30 seconds before leaving the dungeon. With such impressive results, the two girls were successfully admitted to Kunlun University. Today, they planned to report to Kyoto and then have a good time in Kyoto. Unexpectedly, we encountered an alien invasion on the way. Lu Yan has a militant character. When she heard about the alien invasion, she was eager to see it with her own eyes. When I heard that the train conductor was recruiting career changers to deal with LV-60 monsters, she even encouraged her sister Lu Xin to get out of the car secretly and follow the troops to the front line. Sister, don't worry, it's no problem. When Lu Yan heard Lu Xin's call, she laughed heartily, which reassured Lu Xin. The gold-level sword swung out a semicircle in front of him, and thunder shot out, knocking away the two biting shadow wolves. She herself began to move toward the crowd, although her level is only LV-38. But with the super talent of the SSS profession, Thunder Swordsman, plus his own gold-level weapons, Lu Yan was confident that she would have no problem protecting herself among the monsters. However, she soon realized that she had overlooked a serious problem. With the large forces shrinking the defense line, those career changers who failed to evacuate in time were suddenly attacked by more shadow wolves. The upper limit of Lu Yan's strength is to deal with two shadow wolves at the same time. At this moment, the 5 shadow wolves were biting at her with all their strength, causing her to be in chaos. Thunder Ju Slash. In a panic, Lu Yan directly used her strongest move, the first level top skill, Thunder Ju Slash. A thick phantom of thunder appeared on the big sword, making the already huge sword extend several meters again. Lu Yan gritted her silver teeth, raised the sword high, and then slashed it down. Thunder exploded, smoke and dust flew everywhere, and the ground shook slightly. 5 shadow wolves were knocked away at the same time, and their bodies were seriously injured. They were unable to get up again for a while. There was a slight joy on Lu Yan's face. She was able to repel 5 powerful shadow wolves at once, which made her feel a little proud. However, just when she was planning to seize the opportunity and evacuate quickly, a shadow wolf sprang out from the shadows again, biting fiercely at her with its bloody mouth. Behind her, a dark shadow appeared at some point and came over at a very fast speed. Lu Yan's heart suddenly sank to the bottom. She had just released the first level top skill, and most of her physical strength had been consumed. She was unable to face the siege of 2 shadow wolves. Seeing this, the faces of the job changers behind him also changed greatly. Now they are also facing the siege of Shadow Wolf and have no time to rescue Lu Yan. My sister Lu Xin was even more anxious and almost cried. However, what happened at the next moment made everyone stunned. Lu Yan's eyebrows were furrowed, and she held her sword in front of her to block the Shadow Wolf coming from the front, intending to take the attack from the Shadow Wolf behind. Seeing the Shadow Wolf is about to attack, the dark shadow behind suddenly turned into a black light and rushed straight towards the Shadow Wolf in front. The 2 shadow wolves fell to the ground and started biting madly. The job changer was dumbfounded when he saw this incredible scene. What happened? Why did this wolf cub start doing it on his own? Look, that wolf's eyes are actually white. Is it a mutated shadow wolf? What a mutated figure. His stomach is bursting and he's still so fierce. He's obviously an undead. Although Lu Yan didn't know what happened, she took the opportunity to return to the main army and breathed a long sigh of relief. That's when lines of gray-black death aura spread and blended into the dozens of corpses on the ground. The shadow wolf corpse suddenly opened its eyes, and the pale will-o'-the-wisp burned strangely. Seeing a dozen corpses stand up again, the job changers finally confirmed that support had arrived. Hold the grass. Could it be that support from the garrison is coming? It must be. I remember that the guard of the nearby Jinhua city is a level 4 necromancer. Oh my god. That's great. Professional things really need to be done by professionals. The job transferees turned around excitedly, but not far behind them, there was only a young and handsome boy. Beside him, there were 3 gloomy undead skeletons guarding him. Seeing everyone looking at him, Chu Jia smiled and waved to them. Ah, could it be that this handsome young man is the guard of Jinhua City? Isn't it a bit outrageous to turn 4 at such a young age? I think he has taken good care of himself. He may be in his 50s or 60s. You don't really think he is a guard, do you? How can there be only one person for guard support? This handsome guy is obviously the same young genius as the 2 girls next to him. Don't be pushy. With this little brother's help, we will have more than a dozen people at once. We must not let these abyss monsters cross our defense lines. After a brief surprise, the battle started again. The job changers thought that with the help of the undead, they could hold the line of defense more easily. However, the facts tell them wrong. They are totally wrong. I saw more than a dozen undead shadow wolves, fearlessly charging into the group of monsters and biting them like crazy. As undead, they have no sense of pain and are tireless. Even if only a skeleton is left, their combat effectiveness has not weakened at all. The undead shadow wolves are biting the abyss shadow wolves crazily. Even if they are bitten by several shadow wolves around them, they don't even notice. More than a dozen undead shadow wolves, in just 10 seconds, managed to contain the attacks of more than 40 shadow wolves. This directly reduced the pressure on the defense line by half. Hold the grass. Let me hold the grass for a moment, this undead is too awesome. Hiss. Didn't you say that after becoming an undead, your combat effectiveness will be greatly reduced? Why do I feel that this undead is more powerful than when it was alive? Fortunately, it's our combat power. If these undead were monsters, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to kill even one of them. Everyone, I think it's time to change our strategy. With the undead in check, we can switch from defense to offense, and the shadow wolves we kill will become new combat power. It's time to show the power of our dragon kingdom and kill these wolf cubs. Ah! Because of the addition of the undead shadow wolf, the battle situation reversed almost instantly. Job changers are overjoyed. His tired heart was ignited again, and he attacked the abyss monster like crazy. You wolf, I will kill you. Look at my big sword. I'll stab you to death. Braised shadow wolf, fry it up for me. With roars one after another, the job changers launched a frantic attack on the dark shadow wolf. The sword in the warrior's hand was filled with cold light and collided with the shadow wolf's fangs and claws, making a clanging sound. The mage's fingertips shimmered with light, and skills flashing with various lights bombarded the shadow wolf like a storm. There are undead shadow wolves to contain most of the enemies, and the job changers can fight the shadow wolves in groups again. After all, he is a second-level master. With the combined efforts of many people, even the difficult abyss aliens can only die unwillingly in the end. But soon, the death energy merged into the corpses, and they stood up again and rejoined the battle group. But this time, they are fighting for the human race. Haha, the more we fight, the more people we fight. How perverted. It feels so good. It feels so good. I feel like all the frustration I felt just now has been released. What a boy. That handsome guy is so awesome. He can control so many undead at once. After the battle is over, I must thank him. Seeing their own side getting stronger and stronger, the job changers were full of fighting spirit and extremely excited. At the same time, the passengers on the train also showed wonderful expressions when they saw this scene. Tisk, tisk, I didn't expect that handsome boy would be so awesome. One person directly turned the tide of the war. Outrageous. I heard that an outrageous genius appeared in Dongsheng City. Could it be him? Definitely not. I know that person. He uses a sword. His nickname is Sword Immortal. He is completely different from the necromancer. Even if they are not the same person, this handsome boy is not much different from Tianzhao. The flight attendant's beautiful eyes were fixed on the screen, and her heart was equally shocked. She thought that the necromancer could change the situation of the battle to a certain extent through the undead. Unexpectedly, Chu Jia turned the tide almost the moment he entered the battle. The precarious line of defense was suddenly stabilized, and it even gave the career changers an opportunity to counterattack. There seems to be no limit to the number of undead shadow wolves being summoned one after another. The stewardess was all numb. If he hadn't personally verified Chu Jia's student card, he would never have believed it. Chu Jia turned out to be a newcomer who had just changed jobs. As the war progressed, the combat power of the enemy and ourselves began to gradually reverse. There are more and more undead shadow wolves, and there is no need for the undead shadow wolves to contain the abyss monsters anymore. Chu Jia immediately ordered the undead shadow wolves to start a counterattack. A large number of undead shadow wolves began to besiege the abyss monsters, sweeping the battlefield like a flood. Kill the shadow wolf mob and gain 10,000 experience points. Kill the shadow wolf mob and gain 10,000 experience points. Tisk tisk, they are indeed an abyss alien race. The experience given by ordinary mobs can even match the boss in the dungeon. Chu Jia clicked his tongue in amazement and watched happily as the large amount of experience was recorded in his account. At the same time, he also discovered that the undead shadow wolf seemed to have a unique advantage when hunting abyss monsters. It can greatly weaken the recovery effect brought by the immortal attribute. Sure enough, colleagues or enemies. In any case, this brings the overall hunting speed to another level. The number of abyss monsters is visibly decreasing. Even if new shadow wolves occasionally rush out of the portal, they can no longer change the overall situation. The job transferees looked at the scene of the white eyeshadow wolf and the red eyeshadow wolf biting each other, with helpless expressions on their faces. They haven't finished enjoying themselves yet. These undead shadow wolves have taken away their work. But there's really nothing they can do. Not only are the undead shadow wolves numerous in number, they can kill foreign races faster than the second-level masters like them. I can't compare. I really can't compare. Thank you for your help. Let's take this time to take a rest. The middle-aged flight attendant released a group healing technique, covering everyone present, and said gratefully to everyone. In fact, she wants to say, Thank you to Chujia most now. Without Chujia, most of them would still be struggling to support themselves. There may have been casualties already. Now, all members are unscathed, which is simply a miracle. However, the alien invasion is not completely over yet, and she cannot leave without permission. I can only thank Chujia later. After everyone heard this, they all relaxed and began to regain their strength. Although the battle just lasted only 10 minutes, there were too many enemies, the fighting was fierce, and the consumption was quite high. However, at this moment, roar! With a violent roar, a huge palm like a stone pillar suddenly poked out of the portal. The giant palm slapped the ground, making a roar like thunder. The heartstrings that the job transferees had just relaxed became tense again at this moment. Everyone immediately entered a state of preparation for war, looking at the giant palm with vigilance, feeling extremely uneasy in their hearts. What kind of monster is this? Ho ho ho! The angry voices sounded one after another, deafening. The giant palm was also shaking constantly, as if there was something on the opposite side of the portal that was preventing the monster from leaving the instance. Gudong! The job transferees all swallowed their saliva. Thought, the battle situation in the dungeon doesn't look very ideal either. But they still prayed silently, hoping that the level 3 experts inside would control this monster within the dungeon. After all, just the terrifying power emanating from this monster made everyone present feel frightened. However, the facts ultimately disappointed their hopes. Another giant palm poked out from the portal. Immediately afterwards, a huge body with a height of 5 meters also appeared in front of everyone. At this time, everyone finally saw the full picture of this monster. This is a giant bear covered in pitch black, with every hair emitting a strange light. Its eyes were like 2 red-hot coals, exuding a wild desire to kill. The moment it stepped out of the portal, the ground seemed to shake slightly. It can be seen how amazing power is contained in this huge body. Shadow Demon Bear Elite. Level: LV 110. Physique: 1220. Spirit: 1085. Power: 1379. Speed: 1033. Talent: Shadow Healing. Skills: Shadow Crash, Shadow Burst, Shadow Palm. Hiss. This perverted attribute, you tell me it's only level 110. I'm level 130, and my 4-dimensional attributes are more than 300 different than it. The terrifying attributes of the elite alien race made all the second-level masters present take a breath. The two sisters, Lu Yan and Lu Xin, felt a strong sense of powerlessness in their hearts. I'm very sorry for letting the second-level alien escape. Everyone can try to resist. If you really can't handle it, you can retreat to the vicinity of the train. There are barriers on the train to assist in the battle. But please be sure to delay the monsters. Once the monsters invade the city, the consequences will be disastrous. At the same time, the train conductor's voice rang from the device on the middle-aged flight attendant. After killing the first invading shadow wolf, he entered the dungeon. At present, it seems that he is on the other side of the portal at the moment, blocking some more terrifying abyss monsters. When all the second-level masters heard this, their expressions were solemn, but no one ran away. How could the dignified descendants of the Dragon Kingdom be so frightened by these monsters that they run away with their heads in their hands? Besides, they still have their friends and family behind them. Grandmas, isn't it just a level 2 monster? So what if the attributes are higher? I don't believe so many people can't solve it. A young man with a dagger in his hand had a fierce look on his face. He took advantage of the fact that the shadow demon bear had just left and had not fully adapted to the surrounding environment, so he quickly attacked and killed it. The young man was extremely fast, like a ghost, and arrived in front of the shadow demon bear in the blink of an eye. But the shadow demon bear still stood upright in place, as if he didn't feel anything. When alien monsters come to another plane, they will be affected by the plane. The stronger the strength, the greater the influence. And the shadow bear is a little confused now. There's a chance. The young man was so happy that he leapt into the air. The dagger flashed a cold light in the air and stabbed directly towards the throat of the shadow bear. Although the abyss monster has the attribute of immortality, its vital points are still vital. If this elite alien can be seriously injured with one blow, it will be easier for everyone to surround him later. However, at the moment when the dagger was about to hit, The shadow bear suddenly came back to his senses. Roar! Accompanied by a furious roar, a huge black palm struck the young man fiercely. Just a little bit worse. The young man was unwilling to give up, and his expression became fierce. Regardless of the giant palm that was coming, he stabbed through with the dagger unabated. He actually planned to exchange injuries with the shadow demon bear. When everyone saw this, their expressions changed drastically. With the size of the shadow demon bear, if the young man exchanged moves with him, he would probably be killed immediately. How reckless! However, at this moment, 5 undead shadow wolves leapt into the air, like human cannonballs, directly hitting the shadow demon bear's giant palm. PFF'd. The dagger plunged deeply into the shadow bear's throat, and thick black blood spurted out like a fountain. Almost at the same time, the 5 undead shadow wolves were directly crushed to pieces by the huge force. The young man was also knocked dozens of meters away by the residual force, vomiting blood, and had several broken bones. Fortunately, there is an undead shadow wolf who pays the price by being shattered into pieces. Not only did the young man save his life, his injuries were not too serious. Seeing the 5 undead shadow wolves shattered into pieces in an instant, a cold sweat broke out on the young man's back. I realized that I was too reckless just now. If it weren't for Chujia's help, I might be dead now. Brother, thank you so much. The young man covered his chest and said thank you to Chujia from a distance. Everyone, seize the opportunity to attack. The mage attacks from a distance first, severely injuring the monster, and then comes forward to hit the target in close combat. When the middle-aged flight attendant saw that the young man had really hurt the shadow bear, he quickly called on everyone to start attacking. A moment, colorful skills streaked across the sky, bombarding the shadow demon bear. The sky seemed to be dyed in colors for an instant. Roar! The shadow bear became even more furious because of his injuries. Pulling out the dagger from his neck, the giant black palm slammed to the ground. Buzz! A wave of shadow energy began to erupt from the giant palm, spreading outward layer by layer like ripples. Shadow burst. Wherever the shadow wave swept across, skills exploded like fireworks. The shadow bear was not harmed at all. Seeing this scene, the newly raised confidence of the career changers dropped to the bottom again. Forget it if the attributes are so strong. How can I fight with such a perverted skill? The middle-aged flight attendant saw strands of shadow power surrounding the shadow bear's neck, and the bloody wounds were healing rapidly visibly to the naked eye. Hey, everyone, retreat, back near the train and I'll open the barrier. She sighed and gave everyone the order to retreat. Although everyone works together, there is still a chance to kill this elite alien. But that would definitely cause serious casualties. These job transferees who participated in the battle were all passengers, and there was really no need to let them suffer this unreasonable disaster. Everyone nodded and quickly retreated to the rear while the shadow demon bear had not fully recovered from its injuries. Soon, everyone arrived near Chujia. Brother, thank you for your help just now. Quick, quick, let's retreat now. That elite alien race is too strong, we can't defeat it. This passenger, please retreat with us. In addition, please let your undead cover us. On behalf of the train members, I would like to express my gratitude to you. Seeing Chujia, everyone greeted him warmly. They knew very well that without Chujia's undead assistance, they would not have been able to survive the last battle. Everyone, please retreat first, I will let the undead take the lead. Chujia smiled slightly at the middle-aged flight attendant and looked at the shadow demon bear who stood up again with a solemn expression. The strength of the undead shadow wolf is completely inadequate in front of the shadow demon bear. In order to stop the shadow demon bear, I can only use the amplification skills of the undead domain. Howl, the lamentation of hell. Everyone looked at Chujia gratefully. Handsome guy, thank you so much. Just as he was about to continue running towards the train, a creepy sound suddenly sounded in his ears. The sound seemed like a whimper coming from the 9th netherworld, and also like a wail from the 18th level of hell. In short, that is definitely not a sound that can appear in this world. Sad, pathetic, despair, fear, death. The moment I heard this voice, countless negative emotions poured into my mind, making my body feel cold, as if I had received a baptism of death. All the 2nd level masters were shaking uncontrollably, and their faces were pale. Lu Yan and Lu Xin, 2 level 38 rookies even fainted and fell to the ground, staring at the sky with empty eyes, as if they had turned into walking zombies. Only the middle-aged flight attendant managed to fare better. She quickly released a spiritual soothing skill on everyone. Only then did everyone recover from the fear of death, but they were still terrified in their hearts. What was that just now? It was so scary. Psychic attack. Isn't this the attack method that Dreamland monsters are good at? How come these abyss monsters know such terrifying skills? Is there another powerful monster running out of the dungeon? The fear brought about by just a few seconds was actually more intense than the 10-minute battle. Everyone couldn't help but look back, but the scene that happened in front of them made everyone dumbfounded. I'm sorry, everyone. I just released a buff skill for the undead. It seems that it accidentally affected everyone. As the lamentation of hell sounded, the aura of death on the undead shadow wolf seemed to fall into a violent rage, spreading endlessly towards the surroundings. From a distance, it looks like a black magic fire is burning. The scene is horrifying and horrifying. However, what is even more terrifying than this scene is that the attributes of nearly 100 undead shadow wolves doubled instantly. Roar! The undead shadow wolf let out a hoarse roar and turned into dark ghosts, surrounding the shadow bear. Facing the siege of the undead shadow wolves, the shadow bear's eyes flashed with surging anger and disdain. The weakest shadow wolf in the abyss dares to challenge the majesty of the demon bear. Bang! The giant black palm slapped the ground heavily, causing the ground to tremble and create circles of shadow ripples. However, the shadow wolf could be easily crushed into pieces just now. The moment the giant palm fell, its speed increased several times, and it evaded the attack of the giant palm like a ghost. Not only that, the undead shadow wolf even bit into the huge palm of the shadow bear. After being strengthened by Hell's Song, the undead shadow wolf's attributes have almost exceeded 1,000. Although there is still a certain gap between it and the shadow demon bear, it is still more than enough to tear through its defense. Tisk! A piece of dark flesh was torn off by the sinister fangs, and a bloody wound appeared on the giant palm. The shadow demon bear was in pain, so he grabbed the undead shadow wolf and crushed it to death. As the saying goes, when you find that a shadow wolf can bite you, it means that all shadow wolves can pose a threat to you. The complete annihilation of the undead shadow wolf seemed to have triggered a taboo switch. The densely packed undead shadow wolves leapt into the air and pounced on the shadow bear like dumplings. The strengthened fangs were embedded deeply into the flesh and blood of the shadow bear like barbs, tearing crazily. Puff puff puff. Countless dark blood flowers exploded from the body of the shadow demon bear, which was ferocious and coquettish. When the job transferees first heard Chujia say that the terrifying sound was an amplification skill, they still didn't believe it. Whose amplification skill is so spooky and also has a mental attack effect? However, everyone was numb when they saw the fierce scene of 100 wolves fighting a bear. Crazy, crazy. I actually saw a level 60 shadow wolf educating a level 110 magic bear. What a disaster for the education boss. It's against Tiangong. Hiss. Why do you feel like these shadow wolves are stronger than me now? What kind of amplification skill is this? It can actually allow the undead to fight across levels. Handsome guy, your surname is Li, isn't it? It's outrageous. The passengers on the train who were originally frightened were all dumbfounded when they saw this crazy scene. The shadow demon bear, which scared the second-level masters into fleeing, was actually taken care of by Chujia alone. The most important thing is that Chujia is still so young. Although it is said that the waves behind you in the Yangtze River push the waves ahead, your wavering like this will make the waves ahead look redundant. Chujia also didn't expect that wail, the lamentation of hell, when released, would actually have a mental impact on non-undead creatures. However, in the face of this powerful effect, these side effects are irrelevant. Even, in some cases, this may be a weapon for sneak attacks. Haha, thank you for your praise. The reason why undead shadow wolves look so strong is because they are not afraid of death at all. If you all fight with your lives, then this shadow demon bear will definitely not be the enemy of Yi. Chujia said modestly. He is humble when he should be humble and arrogant when he should be arrogant. This is his fine virtue. Hearing this, the job transferees all had smiles on their faces and looked at Chujia with even more admiration. What Chujia said was true. No matter how powerful this shadow bear is, if nearly 100 rank 2 experts burst out into the small universe, it will only end up in ashes. But one thing he didn't say was that Chujia was the only one fighting the shadow demon bear now. At such a young age, one person can form an army. Everyone present was overwhelmed. While everyone was talking, the battle not far away had gone from intense to intense. The shadow demon bear keeps grabbing the undead shadow wolves on his body, and then crushes them. But there are so many undead shadow wolves that it is difficult for two fists to defeat four. When it kills one undead shadow wolf, other undead shadow wolves will bite dozens of kilograms of flesh and blood from it. The recovery effect brought by the immortality attribute cannot make up for the damage at all. The shadow demon bear fought back before his death and released the last shadow explosion. As the shadow energy erupted outside the portal, the mountain-like body fell straight to the ground. Kill the shadow demon bear elite and gain 100,000 experience points. Kill the shadow demon bear elite and obtain the skill book Shadow Blast tier 2 top level. The experience limit has been reached, and the level has been raised to level 41. The experience limit has been reached, and the level has been raised to level 43. The second level elite alien race brought Chujia a lot of experience, allowing him to upgrade 3 levels in a row, directly reaching LV 43. Tisk tisk, how can this be a foreign race? Isn't this a pure experience baby? One monster directly raised me to level 3. It's so cool, haha. Chujia looked at the prompt that popped up on the information panel and couldn't suppress the smile on his face. Shadow Blast tier 2 top level. Professional requirements. Assassin. Skill effect. Throw a shadow dagger, and you can control the explosion of the shadow dagger with your thoughts, producing a shadow explosion, causing 300% area damage. Hey, I thought this was a mage's skill, but I didn't expect it to be an assassin's skill book. And it's an extremely rare range skill. If any assassin profession sees it, they will probably flock to it. Chujia took one look at the trophy, and his eyes couldn't help but light up again. The value of this skill book is worth tens of millions at least, and it is the kind that has a price but no market. But Chujia didn't intend to sell it, and his elder sister Chu Shuangyu happened to be an assassin, so he treated it as a meeting gift for her. Of course, the biggest gain is not the level improvement and skill book, but the corpse of the shadow bear. The real alien race of the abyss. Level 110 can match a level 130 job changer. If Hell's Lament is added to this, wouldn't it be invincible after 3 turns? Please call me the bear tyrant from now on. Chujia was ecstatic in his heart. He greeted the other job transferees and ran towards the shadow bear. The job transferees looked at Chujia's back with envy and admiration. He actually killed the shadow bear. What a hero. It looks like he is planning to make the shadow bear into an undead spirit. The undead souls of alien races in the abyss make me envious just thinking about it. I don't know which school this handsome guy is a top student in. I controlled nearly 100 undead shadow wolves at once. If it weren't for the top 10 prestigious schools, I would stand on my head and eat history. Our Dragon Kingdom actually has such a genius, God bless our Dragon Kingdom. Haha. The job transferees were chattering and discussing, and began to return to the direction of the portal. Now that the shadow bears have been eliminated, they also need to continue to assume the responsibility of stopping the aliens in the abyss. However, with Chujia here, there is probably no need for them to take action. Lu Yan and Lu Xin followed at the back, looking closely at Chujia and discussing in a low voice. Sister, tell me, is it possible that this handsome guy is also a student of Kunlun Academy? Lu Yan held a big sword in her hand and kept swinging it excitedly. The strength shown by Chujia completely shocked her. It's possible, but he should be 1 year above us. I heard that students from the top 10 prestigious schools can basically break through the 2nd grade in their sophomore year. Lu Xin's beautiful eyes moved and she nodded thoughtfully. Oh, then he is our direct senior. He saved me at that time. I will thank him very much later. He will be my goal from now on. Oh ho ho, my sword is thirsty. Lu Yan said with eyes full of stars, full of fighting spirit. Lu Xin stretched out her green jade finger, tapped Lu Yan's smooth forehead, and said helplessly. I see, you want his undead to be your free sparring partner. Lu Yan didn't blush when her thoughts were exposed. She pouted her mouth and said unconvinced. Abyss aliens, this is so rare. I haven't had enough fun today. Besides, what's the point of sparring? I'm a genius who reached the 91st level in the college entrance examination dungeon. That is to say, this senior is 1 year ahead of us. If you give me another year, I will definitely be able to deal with that shadow demon bear faster. There is still a long way to go. I don't know who will be brilliant. Maybe he will be lucky enough to be my sparring partner in the future, hee. Not only the two sisters Lu Yan and Lu Xin, but almost all the career changers were discussing Chu Jia. After all, Chu Jia is a fierce man who single-handedly turned the tide of the battle twice. At this time, the middle-aged flight attendant finally obtained Chu Jia's identity information through communication with the staff on the train. Chu Jia, a new student at Kunlun Academy. Freshman. That is to say, he has only changed jobs for more than half a month. How is this possible? The middle-aged flight attendant was immediately stunned, feeling like he had heard some fantasy. A fierce man who can kill level 110 elite aliens, you tell me he is a new job changer. Seeing the middle-aged flight attendant being so rude, people who had changed jobs around him couldn't help but ask what happened. However, after learning Chu Jia's identity, everyone was dumbfounded. In other words, we have worked hard for a long time, but we are not as good as a new job transfer. Holy shit, I feel like my confidence has been hit like never before. Why is there such a creature as a genius? Why do you want me to meet such a heaven-defying creature? Mad, it feels like I've been living in a dog's body for half my life. Job transferees complained endlessly and doubted their life. They thought that Chu Jia was a genius, but they never thought that Chu Jia was the kind of evil genius that is rare to see in a century. Under such a dazzling light, everyone felt so humble and incompetent. What's the difference between me like this and a bedbug? I'm sorry for being a human being. Lu Yan and Lu Xin, who were at the end of the team, heard the commotion in the crowd and looked curiously. Sister, did you hear that? It turns out that handsome guy is called Chu Jia, and he is really a student of Kunlun Academy. Is this just a lingering thought that will have repercussions? When Lu Yan heard the words, Chu Jia, and Kunlun Academy, little stars suddenly appeared in her eyes, and she was extremely excited. Lu Xin did not reply immediately, her face was full of shock and confusion. After listening carefully again, she looked at Lu Yan in shock. Sister, you seem to have only listened to half of the sentence. This Chu Jia, he seems to be a new student like us. Lu Yan held the big sword tightly and began to envision the beautiful scene of defeating Chu Jia. Just one school, no matter how new it is. What, freshman? Suddenly, Lu Yan's eyes widened as if struck by thunder. How can someone who can kill a second-level elite monster like the Shadow Demon Bear be a freshman? With a face filled with disbelief, she listened carefully to the crowd's discussion and even asked people around her. However, the answers were exactly the same. Chu Jia is the new student of Kunlun Academy. The information comes from the train conductor and is 100% reliable. Everyone in Lu Yan was dumbfounded. It felt like all the strength in my body was suddenly drained, and I couldn't even hold the sword. She has been warlike since she was a child, and her strength is also quite outstanding. I have never obeyed anyone since I was a child. She believes that with her own strength, as long as she has enough time, she will be able to reach the top. But at this moment, facing Chu Jia, she felt a strong sense of powerlessness in her heart. Woo, sister, he bullies others, I want to cry. Of course, Chu Jia didn't know that his information made those who changed jobs later start to doubt their lives. He even cried angrily. He looked at the hill-like body in front of him and rubbed his hands together excitedly. Although we lost 40 undead shadow wolves, it's not a loss at all to get such a big guy. This is called investment. Come on, stand up, new undead. Chu Jia raised his hands and recited an unquestionable command. The breath of death surges out of the hand and flows into the body of the shadow bear. The stiff corpse of the shadow demon bear slowly got up, faced Chu Jia, and prostrated respectfully. Hold the grass. It's really successful. A new job changer created a level 110 undead. Worry, I never dreamed of doing something so big. All those who changed jobs were amazed. Everyone gathered around in envy, admiring the undead demon bear and admiring the brilliance of Chujia's genius. They themselves have no hope in this life, so it would be good to give some of their talents to their children and grandchildren. You should be like Chujia when you give birth to a child. Chujia didn't mind everyone watching the undead demon bear. After all, although a lot of aliens from the abyss can be seen on TV, very few people can see them in person. There are still 50 undead shadow wolves, and it is enough to let them guard near the portal. However, at this moment, 2 young and beautiful girls walked through the crowd and came to Chujia. 2 girls, one with long hair shawl, skin as delicate as snow, look gentle and pleasant. The other one has short hair, sharp eyes, and a big sword in his hand that looks particularly conspicuous. There is a slight resemblance between their eyebrows, and they seem to be sisters. Hello Chujia, we are freshmen at Kunlun Academy. My name is Lu Yan, and this is my sister Lu Xin. Can I ask you a few questions? Lu Yan's big, watery eyes stared straight at Chujia, filled with the flame of seeking knowledge. Just ask, I will answer if it's convenient. Chujia was a little stunned and didn't understand what these 2 beauties were doing. But after all, he is a student of Kunlun Academy and his future classmate. Let's listen to what the second daughter wants to ask. Lu Yan took a deep breath, stared at Chujia with burning eyes, and asked word by word. Chujia, are you really only 18? Chujia was stunned and a little embarrassed. Beauty, it's not convenient for me to answer your question. Beauty, what you are asking about is privacy. Lu Yan was stunned when she heard this, and then said with some embarrassment. I'm asking about your age, don't think about any random things. Chujia looked at Lu Yan in confusion and said doubtfully. I'm also talking about age. Isn't age a privacy? Where did you want to go? After hearing Chujia's words, Lu Yan's pretty face turned red. It seemed like something ran over his face just now. She suspected Chujia was driving, but she had no evidence. PFF'd. Lu Xin on the side couldn't hold it back and burst out laughing. I didn't expect that my careless sister was not as strong as Chujia, but she was also weak in speaking. Sister, you're still smiling. Where are you from? Lu Yan glared at Lu Xin angrily. She originally wanted to ask Chujia if he was a repeat student. However, after such an interruption, her train of thought became confused. Every high school senior in this world is eligible to repeat their studies once. It's just that the college entrance examination requirements for repeat students will be 1 level higher. After all, they have 1 more year of experience than the new candidates. If Chujia was a repeat student, then Lu Yan felt everything would be reasonable. Lu Xin ignored Lu Yan, nodded slightly to Chujia, and said softly. Classmate Chujia, first of all, thank you for saving my sister in the battle just now. If you hadn't taken action, my sister would have been seriously injured by now. In addition, because the strength you showed is too terrifying, my sister wants to ask you if you are a repeat student. After hearing Lu Xin's words, Chujia finally understood the purpose of the 2 women's visit. Emotionally, I was shocked by my own power and somewhat doubted the reality. I'm not a repeater, I'm a newcomer just like you. However, my profession and talents are quite special. It's best not to compare yourself with me, as it may hurt your self-esteem. Chujia politely explained and reminded kindly. Humph, it's too late to say it now. My self-esteem is completely damaged. It's so crumbly. When Lu Yan heard Chujia's words, the only hope in her heart was completely shattered. Just half a month after changing jobs, he was able to control so many undead and even kill level 110 abyss aliens. This made Lu Yan, a proud person of heaven, unable to help but doubt. Did we really start on the same track? Your track won't be full of speed strips, right? Kunlun Academy is indeed one of the top 3 prestigious schools in the Dragon Kingdom. It is truly a crouching tiger, hidden dragon. I'm afraid we, the number 1 scholar in a small town, will be outnumbered by everyone there. Lu Xin felt the same emotion in her heart, but as an older sister, she still had to comfort her sister. Xiaoyan, different professions, different advantages. As a melee attack profession, violent output is your highlight. Don't be surprised by the group attack of the necromancer. Instead, you forget your own advantages. This is putting the cart before the horse. Lu Xin's words were like a drop of life spring water, making Lu Yan's eyes light up and rejuvenate her. That's right, I am a melee professional. Not only is my attack flexible, but my own strength is also extremely powerful. The necromancer has a bean sprout body, and I can chop down a large piece of it with one sword. HMPH. Chu Jia, right, give me a year and I promise to surpass you. Lu Yan picked up the big sword and challenged Chu Jia a little childishly and a little arrogantly. Chu Jia couldn't laugh or cry when he heard this. He compared strength with the necromancer. What kind of lazy method of comparison is this? The most important thing is that I am not a necromancer. Chu Jia thought the sisters were quite interesting, so they started chatting together. At the same time, in the distant sky, 4 giant eagles were soaring in the direction of the train at high speed. These 4 giant eagles have no flesh and blood on their bodies, they are just 4 ghastly skeletons. But the aura exuding from his body is actually the aura of the 4th revolution. On the backs of the 4 giant eagles, stood dozens of career changers with powerful auras, the lowest being 3rd-level masters. The leader is a thin high school-aged man, wearing a gorgeous gold-level mage robe. He is the guard of Jinhua City. Rank 4 strongman, necromancer, Zhao Tianrong. After receiving the train's request for help, Zhao Tianrong quickly organized troops to come to support. It's just that the alien invasion happened in the wilderness this time, too far away from Jinhua City. Even if he flew at full speed, he could barely cover more than half of the distance. The alien race that invaded this time is Abyss. I'm afraid there's a lot of pressure on the train. Yes, the Abyss monster's indestructible attribute, judging from the combat power on the train, is probably still stalling. I hope they are okay. When will this alien invasion end? The soldiers in the garrison looked forward anxiously, wishing they could fly to the front line immediately and participate in the battle. Zhao Tianrong also looked ahead solemnly, and his rich voice spread slowly. When an alien invades, is there ever a time when there is no pressure? The tyranny of the wild aliens, the illusions of the aliens in the dream world, the reproduction of the natural aliens, the star soul clones of the star aliens, the various puppet weapons of the mechanical aliens. Every alien invasion is a cruel test of human strength. However, the trains are all equipped with barriers. Even if they are unable to defeat the Abyss aliens, they will still be able to rely on the barriers to support us until we arrive. What you need to do now is to check your combat readiness and be fully mentally prepared for the next battle. Although war cannot avoid casualties, you are all my soldiers. I sincerely hope that you can all return to Jinhua City with me intact. Zhao Tianrong's voice was very low, but the power in that voice penetrated deeply into the hearts of every soldier. Soothe everyone's anxiety and inspire everyone's fighting spirit. Yes, Lord Guard. Dozens of soldiers responded in unison and began to check their equipment, skill scrolls, and recovery potions. Although these have been checked before, checking again can stabilize everyone's hearts and enter the fighting state faster. Finally, after flying for another 10 minutes, the outline of the train appeared in front of everyone. At the same time, they also saw densely packed alien races from the Abyss, wandering unscrupulously in the human world. There are also nearly 100 job transferees around the Abyss aliens, who seem to be struggling to resist the Abyss aliens. Have the aliens from the Abyss escaped? It seems that the war situation is indeed quite critical. Zhao Tianrong murmured to himself. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and he ordered sternly. All soldiers, prepare for battle. Swish, swish, swish. The sword, staff, and magic book all began to tremble, and powerful skills began to brew. Prepare to fly to the battlefield as soon as possible and bombard the Abyss aliens with a wave of skills. However, when the 4 giant eagles finally flew above the battlefield and saw clearly the situation below, the soldiers on the giant eagles were all dumbfounded. What the hell are they doing? Am I right? These guys are actually taking selfies with the aliens from the Abyss. What exactly is going on? Even the guard Zhao Tianrong showed a gloomy expression on his face when he saw this contrasting scene. However, before he could think it over clearly, something happened that made him even more shocked. The 4 undead giant eagles flapped their wings and slowly fell to the ground. What's going on? Did I just give the order to land? The job changers below saw the undead giant eagle falling from the sky, as well as a group of job changers with powerful auras. He also realized that support from the garrison had finally arrived. All of them faced the giant eagle and nodded respectfully. Chu Jia looked at the 4 undead giant eagles with envy. This aura probably already has the strength of rank 4, right? Instantly, I felt that my undead demon bear was no longer fragrant. Lord Guard, thank you for your support. The battle situation on the front line is critical. Please go to the dungeon quickly. The middle-aged flight attendant recognized Guard Zhao Tianrong, and she spoke eagerly. The corners of Zhao Tianrong's mouth twitched. I see you are still in the mood to take selfies, and you don't think it's an emergency. He wanted to go back to his thoughts, but he still maintained a guarded dignity on his face, and spoke in a deep voice. Please tell me the current situation so that I can allocate manpower. The middle-aged flight attendant nodded in agreement and told the whole story simply and clearly. Hearing this, Zhao Tianrong suddenly realized and looked at Chu Jia in surprise. As a 4th-level necromancer, he had naturally seen that both the Shadow Bear and the Shadow Wolf had become undead. But he never expected that the one who transformed them into undead servants, who was also the one who changed the situation of the battle, was actually a little guy who had just changed jobs. Half a month after changing jobs, he was able to kill the 2nd-level abyssal alien race. This guy has the qualifications of a great emperor. Little guy, you are very good. It just so happens that I am also a necromancer. After I put down the alien invasion, we can have a good communication. When the job changers around heard this, they were extremely envious. Being able to be given personal guidance by a rank 4 expert is a good thing that they can't even dream of. It's an honor for me, Junior. Thank you so much, Senior. Chu Jia also thanked him respectfully. Although he is not a necromancer, he has the power of the undead. Drawing parallels and communicating with Zhao Tianrong will definitely be of great benefit. Okay, then I won't keep anyone here. All warriors follow me to the dungeon battlefield. Zhao Tianrong ordered in a deep voice. Here is the evil genius Chu Jia, who can directly overturn the battle situation. But there is obviously no such good thing in the copy, and he still needs to go to support. Yes, the warriors on the back of the giant eagle shouted loudly, the sound shook the sky. The job transferees were also shocked by the shouts of the soldiers and sighed with emotion. He is indeed a good man from our dragon kingdom. However, a moment later, the giant eagle still stood there, motionless. The shock on the faces of the job transferees gradually turned into confusion. Is there something else that the Lord Guard has not explained? The soldiers were also a little confused. The vigorous and resolute guard Zhao Tianrong, why did he look like a mother-in-law today? Zhao Tianrong said, I am also confused. Just now, he had given the departure order to the 4 giant eagles. However, the 4 giant eagles stayed motionless, ignoring their orders. Zhao Tianrong was a little frightened at first, thinking that there was a mysterious alien race that cut off the connection between him and the undead. However, if you feel it carefully, there is nothing strange at all. But this only made him even more confused. Nothing is different, so why do the undead no longer obey his orders? I am a necromancer, and most of my strength lies in the undead. If the 4 undead are unable to participate in the battle, then his support today will not support loneliness. At this moment, a clear voice suddenly sounded from the crowd. Congratulations, Lord Guard. Zhao Tianrong looked up and saw that the person speaking was none other than Chu Jia. Hearing this, other job transferees also agreed. Congratulations to the Lord Guard, and wish the Lord Guard a triumphant return. Congratulations to the Lord Guard, all warriors, please help us teach the aliens a lesson. Come on everyone, let's be a good goalkeeper, the monster inside depends on you. Along with the noisy farewell, 4 undead giant eagles opened their huge bone wings of more than 10 meters, roared into the air, and then plunged directly into the portal. What kind of guarding is this? It's too honorable. If we don't exchange a few polite words, won't he leave? Lu Yan looked in the direction of the portal and couldn't help but complain. Lu Xin quickly pulled Lu Yan and reminded her in a low voice. Sister, be careful what you say. The Lord Guard is not someone we can discuss casually. Lu Yan snorted unconvinced and faced Chu Jia, seeking approval. What are you saying? I'm not talking nonsense, I'm telling the truth. Chu Jia, tell me, am I right? Chu Jia held his chin and said thoughtfully, what you see with your eyes may not be true. Lu Yan tilted her head, her face full of confusion. What? It's inexplicable. Chu Jia laughed and didn't explain. Perhaps only he and guard Zhao Tianrong knew what happened just now. When the undead giant eagle came nearby, Chu Jia felt a vague connection with himself. The feeling is very similar to that of his undead servants, but not exactly the same. He can give instructions to the undead within a certain range, but certain rules cannot be exceeded. It's like borrowing something from someone else. You can use it yourself, but you can't use it unscrupulously. Just now, the undead giant eagle didn't fly away immediately because he didn't speak. It seems that the skill, bone of the eternal dead, like the Tiandao sword body, also has absolute restraint on undead creatures by the superior over the inferior. Quote, "You can even control other people's undead souls. You are really an invincible pervert. If I can create a few more fields and master a few more special physiques, wouldn't it mean that no one else can hurt me while I'm standing?" Chu Jia couldn't help laughing when he thought of this. Sister, look at Chu Jia, he smiles so obscenely. He must be thinking about something random. Lu Yan looked at Chu Jia with a smile on his face and felt particularly unhappy. Hey, if you can't beat me, then you'll slander me. Lu Yan, you turn out to be a little black guy. When Chu Jia heard this, his face turned solemn and he looked at Lu Yan dissatisfied. HMPH, who said we can't beat him? I can challenge your undead right now. But we agreed in advance that it will be a fair one-on-one duel. Lu Yan pursed her lips and shouted unconvinced. Chu Jia looked at Lu Yan with a half-smile, oh, sure. Then Miss Lu Yan, do you want to choose an ordinary shadow wolf, a crazy shadow wolf, or a shadow demon bear as your opponent? Lu Yan was speechless after hearing this. Her current strength can barely beat an ordinary shadow wolf. How dare you think about fighting the crazy shadow wolf and shadow demon bear? He knew that Chu Jia was teasing him, but he couldn't do anything about it and was very angry. HMPH, don't be proud. Be careful when you sleep. I will give you a sword. Ho ho. Chu Jia laughed. Arguing with Lu Yan, a little girl, was really a lot of fun. Regarding the undead giant eagle, Chu Jia just laughed it off. However, Zhao Tianrong in the copy was in a turmoil in his heart and could not calm down for a long time. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.